Hello everybody, welcome to Frame Trap. We're recording this on New Year's Day, so the vibes are just right. And of course, for a good vibes episode, I need with me Michael Huber.
Yo.
And Bradley Ellis.
Yo, dude, I'm gonna keep that New Year's vibe going. Got some whiskey.
Oh,
nice.
What kind of whiskey is that?
The Bellavine, I think it is. My brother gave me like a bunch of sample ones for Christmas.
Sick.
Nice.
This is 17 years apparently.
Dang.
You know, Brad, you should have told me this beforehand, because I just have water in this cup. But
Water
we could have
is
had
the best.
Yep. I just have espresso.
All good.
espresso at 7:17.
Dude, it's 7:17, but am
He's
I
a different
alone?
beast.
Am I alone in thinking that it feels like 11:45 p.m.?
No, it does. It does feel really late.
Yeah,
My concept
okay,
of time
okay.
has been screwed. You know what? I was giving you a hard time about that, but I have coffee at night all the time.
Got
So
to.
it feels right.
Need it.
Yeah.
Need it to survive, Ben.
Yeah, I have a lot of coffee.
Same, dude.
I will be your host, Ben Moore. I thought I'd open up the show by just asking, you know, on a personal level, just as Huber and Brad here, what are you guys looking forward to in 2021? This is the first day of it.
Resident Evil 8.
2021. What'd you say?
Resident Evil 8.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
New
That's
year,
just like
new release dates, you know? It's like I can start looking at the release dates officially of 2021. And then when I booted up my Xbox earlier, it was like, hey, you should play Resident Evil 7.
And you were like, well, you don't have to twist my arm.
Gee. Yeah. But then I was like, dude, 8 is close.
Yeah.
Relatively close.
Yeah.
That's like a little thing I'm gonna store away of happiness, you know?
Yeah,
just like
dude.
put it on the shelf, dude.
It's coming. It is coming.
2021. I need to see more Breath of the Wild, so they gotta like do something.
Mm-hmm.
Like whatever it doesn't come out, I need to see it. I need to see something, dude. I'm just dying here. Obviously, I don't know if it'll happen, but I want to get back in the studio with all you ASAP. Can't wait to hug Mike and you guys.
Yeah.
Or something like,
Yeah.
jeez.
I'm gonna crack somebody's ribs.
You
with
are.
a
You're
hard
going to
hug.
crack somebody. It's going
Crack
to be a glorious
blood,
day.
dude.
I'm just really looking forward to going to a movie again. I feel like no matter what I see, it's going to be like a momentous occasion. Yeah.
I want to go to
Really
Disneyland, man.
There's gonna be
I do
that
too.
that
Yeah.
nervousness though.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
That like kind of tension of like, okay, well it's
It'll be
safe
weird
now
because
It's like,
everyone's
okay.
gonna be like on edge slightly
Yeah,
for a little
yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, we just need to have, like, as soon as this thing calms down, like, an actual zombie outbreak happens. Just one
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I didn't see my family this year for the holidays, so
Oh man.
that would be nice too.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd like, Zoom calls and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Not the same.
Not the
Not the
same.
same. Not the
Better
same.
than nothing, but not the same.
Yeah, man. Christmas just felt like it kind of came out of nowhere for me because I wasn't out as much or anything like that.
Yeah.
Usually you're out like shopping or whatever, or just
Right.
going out.
Yeah,
But
hearing
it's
the
like,
Christmas music.
Really
at the
didn't do that as much this year.
mall. Yeah, no, I mean, I still enjoyed it, right? I still
Mhm.
enjoyed Christmas, but it didn't feel the same for sure.
Mhm.
And that's understandable. People need to be safe, but yeah, man, I don't know. I'm just looking forward for this whole thing to be over.
Yep.
Family is watching The Mandalorian, my parents and my sister, and this is the first Star Wars thing that my sister's ever seen.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's pretty cool. That's pretty
That
cool.
is wild.
It's like a
That
good
is
thing
always
to
like that.
Yeah.
Anything Star Wars is like
Dude.
somebody's first thing
Mhm.
with Star Wars. That's great.
My dad's only seen the first episode of season 2, and I'm just fucking waiting for him to
Waiting,
get caught up,
dude.
dude. I'm
Yes.
just
Wait,
waiting. To
okay,
talk
the
to
way
my
that you
dad.
said that, I thought that he just skipped season 1.
No, he's seen season 1.
Okay.
But he's only seen first episode of 2.
Yeah, I was talking to my dad while they were watching, or after they were like on episode 5 of the first season, and it was so hard just be like, okay, don't tell them anything, like just
Yeah.
hold back. They have no idea what's in store. Yeah. But let's move into the games. Huber, you've been playing something that I've been meaning to check out, but just have not yet, and that is Destiny 2 Beyond Light.
Beyond Light. Destiny.
What a year for that to come out, dude.
Beyond Light.
Stacked.
Stacked, yeah. super fun. Okay, it launched, but remember that the current gen versions launched about a month later. So it came out on PC, PS4, all that. You could still play on PS5, but like the official PS5 patch did not release until I think like 3 to 4 weeks later. I don't know the exact date, but it was about a month or so. And that's what I waited for. I waited for that moment because I was like busy right when it came out. So I was like, oh, might as well just wait for that. And it's been so nice. Like I was on PS4 originally, then switched over to Steam, and then now I'm back on PS5.
See, the thing for me is I just like shooting with the mouse and keyboard in Destiny so much that I think it wouldn't be hard to go back to a controller. I'm sure it'd be fine, but yeah.
I always like the way Destiny feels on control. It's weird.
It does feel really good.
Yeah, it does.
Doom, I want that mouse and keyboard, but Destiny, it's like, there's something about the
I think Destiny's like design is a little more okay with the controller, you know? With Doom, you're running 100 miles an hour and you're like, looking all over the place.
But Beyond Light, it's been good. It's been great. There's a new planet, new powers, you know. If you are familiar with the Destiny 2 kind of expansion release schedule, then, you know, nothing new here. It just feels like the game's in a really good spot. I will say my main takeaway is like daily and weekly objectives. For me, it's too much. It became really overwhelming. And I got to a point, I haven't played in a week because it got to a point where I was feeling pressured to play and feeling guilty about not playing.
That's the worst, dude.
Yeah, because you have daily bounties from a ton of sources. You have weekly things that give you the strongest armor. It's like once you hit the soft cap of 1200 to get to the hard cap of 1250 or 60 or whatever it is, you need to do those challenges to reward you with the powerful gear and the pinnacle gear. So you're just like, you have to do it. You have to do it. You know, I always see, not just with Destiny, but some games, it's like, well, just don't do that. And it's like, well, you kind of have to. The whole point of Destiny is to get higher numbers, and the best way to get your numbers higher are to do those activities. And one part of me was like, okay, this is awesome. I get to do everything. I get to do some PvP. I get to do some strikes. I get to do some planetary investigations. Like, that's really nice. But it got to a point where sometimes I logged in and I was like, well, the only thing that's going to reward me is PvP. I don't want to do PvP right now. But it's like, well, that's where the gear is. Like, go do that. Or you'll get like some quests where it'll be, you know, use your stasis power on like 100 enemies. And it's like, that stuff comes over time. But now if I have one thing telling me to get gear from PvP and another thing from telling me to do stasis, it's just kind of this push and pull. It's like, well, I want to do them both at the same time to like maximize efficiency. So I just felt like Destiny was kind of not respecting my time. That was kind of my takeaway with that aspect.
I think the troubling thing about this is, like, you're talking about this new expansion, which I haven't touched yet. But I was into Destiny this summer, and it just sounds the same. Like, everything that you're describing, it's like, yeah, that's what I was doing 6 months ago, and
it's
nothing
still Destiny 2.
Yeah, and that's fine. I like Destiny 2, and it can definitely get its hooks in me. But I think I was hoping that, you know, what you'd be describing, I guess, would be a little bit more substantial for a new expansion.
Yeah, the powers are cool, and I will say the quest progression mostly works. You know, think about the years and years of Destiny where, you know, where we started, where it was like, all right, just grind strikes now forever. It's like, what? No. And then they added like some quests, and just the quest process, I feel like, has gotten better over the years.
Yeah,
like,
they've definitely given you more to do.
Yeah, there's always something to do. It's just a matter of, well, do I want to do that right now? You know, I imagine the perfect world of Destiny, it's where like you can go on and just play what you want to play and be rewarded for it. You know, I don't know, but that's a totally different Like, that's just my opinion. I don't know if that's right or wrong. What do you guys think? Because, you know, at the same time, like, Destiny is so fun. Like, it gives you a reason to play everything.
Yeah.
It makes it more rewarding when you do get raid ready and you can do the raid. It's like, well, I really put in the time. I really did everything to kind of get strong. But
I think
I don't know.
When I was playing it earlier this year, doing the Forsaken content and the Shadowkeep content, I actually kind of got interested in the lore and the story.
Yeah.
And the end of Shadowkeep definitely set up Beyond Light to be like, okay, stuff is going down.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like it delivered on that promise?
Yeah, it feels like stuff's going down. It's definitely still long term, you know? I feel like we're always going to be in that spot with a game like this, Destiny, where it's like, expansion, here it is, but let's space this out over the season, more stuff. You know, it's always this like huge event, but it's going to take time.
That's actually a problem I have, I feel like, with a lot of ongoing games. It's not really just a Destiny thing, but there's always this sense of like just, you know, kicking the ball further down the field. Mm-hmm. And that's okay, but like, I don't know. I think something that made Forsaken so cool is it focused on characters a little bit better. Do you feel like people step up to the plate here?
Yeah, dude. We got the Stranger back, the Exo Stranger.
Yeah, how is the Stranger?
Dude, that's what I mean. The storytelling and all that stuff is top notch. So, like, I came out guns blazing, criticizing. You know how we do on Frame Trap, Ben? Criticism does not mean dislike.
Yeah.
You know?
Tell me how it is, man.
So it's like we're at a point where like the presentation is so much better than it was. Even all the lore stuff. Like, there's lore tabs, you know? You can collect lore information and it's kind of like cataloged into your book and all that, and it's like, okay, I can kind of piece it together better than before, which is nice. And yeah, just the missions are really fun. Like, obviously their art design is next level, production design and that stuff
that was another thing,
so well done. Like the stasis powers and the snowy planet, like all that stuff is really well done, really good.
I can't commend that art team enough. I mean, there have been moments, certain areas and planets in Destiny where it like that was a huge part of the enjoyment on its own, was just looking around. And I love that. They're top notch when it comes to a lot of that stuff.
So yeah, it was just a lot. It was a lot to keep track of. I think one thing was like the daily bounties. I feel like the daily bounties should not expire. That was my takeaway. Because you get these weekly things that are like, all right, you got to finish this by the week or else it resets. You don't get your gear. And it's like, all right, you need to finish 8 bounties to collect that reward. But then your bounties are like daily bounties and they expire. But some of them are like, yo, get 30 kills with this. And it's like, dude, if like, let me just get that bounty and finish it on my own accord. That's not hurting anyone, you know? Let me get my 30 kills over the week to collect said reward. So it just felt like there was just a ton. It really overwhelmed me.
So if you get this quest and you don't do it, it goes away?
Only the dailies, the daily bounties,
That's really weird, though.
Yeah,
I think if you get the quest, you should hold on to it until you finish it.
I agree. I feel like dailies should not expire. I feel like that would be a nice compromise. Yeah,
that seems weird to me.
Because that wouldn't change the fact that your best gear is still coming from the weekly rewards. And if the weekly is like, yo, just finish 8 bounties. Okay, let me just finish my bounties over the week. They don't need to expire. Like, it's just, I just kept feeling this pressure of like, log in and do your shit today.
Chores.
Or you're gonna run. Yeah, it felt like chores for a minute. So I had to take a week off, and now currently I'm reevaluating. Am I gonna hop back in? I don't know.
I
felt like strong-armed. Bungie, settle down.
That's everything though. I mean, that's just the design of these games, you know. It's
for sure.
Any MMO, you know, Avengers, everything just has that kind of cycle because...
But Fortnite is easier to hop back into, Ben, and this is why I always find myself hopping back in, because it's purely seasonal. Hey, guess what? You have 3 months to get as far as you want on this battle pass. Have at you. So I never feel this, like, daily pressure to, like, get in and do something before it expires every single day.
Yeah, but I mean, like... along those lines, isn't that pressure just self-inflicted? Because, like, let's just say you don't do it. Then the next day you pick it up, you can do that daily if you want. Like, it's not like... Because the way that they lock gear in Destiny, it's not like you can never get there. It's like, if you miss it, it's not like you can never, ever get to that number. True. It's like, so... If you want to take a break or you don't want to, do it every single day, you could take a week off and then have a really heavy week where you're doing stuff. You can still progress roughly at the rate that you want to progress.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, that's just where I'm at. The push and pull of Destiny, as we always talk about. Yeah, like it feels like Beyond Light was geared towards dedicated fans, which is awesome. So that I feel like that is a good place for it to be in. And obviously I haven't done the raid yet. I'm raid ready, but I have not done that yet. And everyone that has done it has said it's freaking amazing.
Yeah.
So
cool.
Which always makes everything worth it in the end, So maybe my complaints will be like, whatever. I felt pressured to play, but it was rewarding in the end.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the payoff does account for a lot, right? Because I feel like you've expressed in the past, Huber, that like once you've done the raid, you kind of feel this pressure off your shoulders, and you're like, all right, I'm good. I'll check in. So true. Next time around.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely.
Yep.
Yeah. I think this sounds cool, and I do really like Destiny 2, and I'm curious. I think that's the number one thing is I'm curious to see what they do with the story and Beyond Light. But a lot of what you're describing is business as usual, and I think that sounds more critical than it actually is, because I think Destiny 2 has very much carved out its identity in a way that is definitely serviceable. So yeah, I don't know. I think we're all kind of waiting for like the big next step. This is like Beyond Light sounds like it's the next chapter, but it's not like this huge transformative thing. And I'm sure that'll happen, right? And that's not an easy thing to do, but
it seems like it's in a good place. I know there was some concern with the stasis powers with PvP balancing because dude, to get some of these new stasis powers, which actually I really appreciated this part, was you have to do some like post game stuff. So like I beat kind of the main campaign, and like I had to do a lot of stuff afterwards to kind of modify my powers, and you can bring that stuff into PvP and just start chucking these like shatter grenades everywhere. It gets pretty out of control. So PvP kind of felt chaotic, which I'm sure can be frustrating, but at the same time, MMO PvPs, I want to be as chaotic as possible. Well, bring in all your raid gear that you earned and kill me every time you earned it.
you saying it's more chaotic is hard for me to visualize because it was already insane. Like,
dude, hunters have like a ice tornado move now. It's out of control.
Yeah, I mean, people. There's this like dedicated following for Destiny that is so good at PvP that it was like chaos just based on their skill level, but then you throw in supers and stuff on top of that, and it's crazy. And so if it's even crazier now, that is wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, you saying it's in a good place, I think, is reassuring. I think that's a good way to kind of sum it all up.
Yeah, it felt a little more demanding than I was used to, but it feels like it's in a good place.
Yeah, I always think about stuff like this with MMOs. Yeah, how you're saying you felt pressured, but I always think about also the other player. Like this is the only game they play.
Totally.
And I think that's a lot of that audience. So it's good for them to always have something to come back to. But for people like us who bounce around a lot, it can be definitely overwhelming at times.
Totally. I think it's just the time limit stuff.
Yeah.
That stuff just like got to me weirdly this time, like on another level. I don't know.
Maybe it's because you're like on holiday and you maybe a lot of your life is more relaxed, and so when Destiny's like putting a more rigid schedule, maybe it's conflicting.
Totally
schedule.
Yeah.
But something I just thought about with like MMOs and myself personally is like way back in the day, being online with other people was just such a novelty that like that's kind of what I was in there for. And just like playing Battlefield 1942 and having these large scale wars and all that stuff, like just the fact that it worked was so captivating.
It was enough to keep you going.
But now there's so many things that I can sink all of my time into if I want. There's like infinite numbers of options for games that are really demanding and like have things that you need to pay attention to seasonally, weekly, daily. Like there's just so much of that stuff that I find the things that I gravitate to now are, it's like, well, am I interested at all in the story, or like, is this an experience I can't get anywhere else? Or something like that. Like, it's changed so much. That is interesting. Yeah. I think my own demands for that, it's an embarrassment of riches. Would you say at every frame trap, there's just too much to play?
These are my demands. I need story and gameplay.
I need story and gameplay forever.
Dude, Ben, in Battlefield 1942, did you ever lay down on the wings of the B-52 bomber and then have your friend like fly over and jump off? We used to do that. It was awesome.
I don't specifically remember doing that.
Or did you ever throw the C4 on the Jeeps and then blow the Jeeps up?
I genuinely don't remember. Like, I remember a lot of craziness and chaos and fun and just goofing around. And like, people definitely treated 1942 like this big giant sandbox, but I can't tell you specifically like that. Yeah, I just don't remember.
Every time I hear 1942, my mind always just goes to that place.
Yeah. When was 1942? Because I don't think I've played it in probably
early 2000s.
Early 2000s seems right.
I don't think I've played it in like over a decade. So yeah, I don't remember. Sadly.
Lifetime memories, dude. B-52.
I definitely played some Battlefield 1942 with my friends, but I primarily played it by myself online. Because like not a lot of my friends were super into PC games.
Totally.
That was more of a me interest thing. And so
you knocked those settings down to low.
Yeah, there were games that I kind of got really into on my own. A game that nobody talks about that I played it, like spent an entire summer playing, was Rainbow Six 3 specifically.
Dude, 3 Raven Shield?
Was
3 Raven Shield, dude?
I don't remember what the subtitle was.
Oh my god. You're bringing me back now, dude.
No one talks about 3. Yeah, it is Raven Shield. You're right.
Dude,
that's the subtitle.
My brother loved that freaking game.
Yeah. I played the shit out of that game for a summer.
Ben, dude, Battlefield. It seems like whenever there's a new main Battlefield, me and Huber, we play for a little bit. Like, me and Huber still play with each other, man. You should get in there with us, dude.
Let's stream Battlefield, guys. Well, we gotta do this.
I played 4 or 5. I think it was 5.
You played. Huber. I remember you played 1 with us.
Ben played 1.
I played 1. I remember, yeah. I think you and I, Huber, you had a day where you were like, "Let's play Battlefield 5," and we played. And it's so weird because like I was really into 1942. That was a big one for me. Bad Company 2 was another big one for me. Spent a lot of time with Bad Company 2. And Battlefield 3. Those are kind of like my 3. I know everybody has different ones, but those are kind of my 3 big ones. And now when I play Battlefield, like when I play with you guys, I have a good time, but I just don't feel that drive.
Got it.
Anymore.
It's all about who you play with, man.
For sure.
Like, when you're playing with your friends, it is so chaotic and you're much more loose and goofy.
Shit,
like,
guys.
Me and Mike do such dumb shit
all
the time in that game.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's fun doing dumb stuff with your friends, but, like, I remember, like, wanting it, like, I would grind that out. Like, like it was like,
it'll never be, like, the same for us.
Yeah.
Grinding out games, dude.
Yeah.
Grinding out weapon unlocks.
Weapon attachments, dude.
Yeah, weapon attachments.
Grind it out.
Shit.
That's so good. Yeah, we're streaming Battlefield and making this happen.
What Battlefield are we on? 5?
5.
I don't even know.
Yeah.
5.
Okay.
6 is coming.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't even pinpoint it because when I do play modern Battlefields, I have a good time, but the magic just isn't there in the same way.
I mean, you can't recapture that feeling, you know?
I also think, like,
a little bit of the magic is lost, for sure.
I think part of it is, like, people take games way more seriously now.
Yeah, sure.
And I feel like playing 1942, maybe it was just I was a kid and this was just my perspective on things, but like, I don't know, I felt like people didn't try so hard. Like
metas, dude.
Yeah.
There's some meta strats now.
The money wasn't on the table in the same way, and so it took the pressure off, and like people were just dumb and goofy. And,
I think, like you said earlier, it was just kind of in the era of people playing online with each other, and just the fact that this game works, kind of thing, as well as it does, was so fun and goofy.
Yes,
like there wasn't like really YouTube back then. There wasn't like necessarily widespread knowledge as much about games, so it was a lot more goofy.
But now it's just like everybody's like, all right, well, I'm gonna play this game.
Yeah,
look up the YouTube guide for best gun, best attachments.
Yeah, you still get that. But once in a while, there's always like a shining moment of someone just being a nutcase.
Yes.
Which I really appreciate.
I really appreciate that as well. Brad, I was playing some Battlefront 2 last week, and there was this like 501st clan, and they were like, there were so many of them. They just all had this 501st clan tag. And they made up like pretty much the entire other team.
Holy
and like
shit.
they were so good that like no one scored. And then the next match we got on their side, and then like it was just like 100-0 blowout. Whichever way that they swung, it was just like pure domination.
Dude, shout out to people that still play in FPS clans.
Yeah, dude.
Like holy shit.
Crazy.
Love it.
That's so cool.
Shit.
But moving away, I guess, a little bit from the nostalgia, very, very contemporary release here. Brad, you've been playing some Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Cyber.
Beat it, yeah.
Cyber.
Yeah, played like, I don't even know, like 40-something hours probably.
What were your specs?
What are my specs? I have a 1080 graphics card. Do you have a 980, Mike?
What were your visual specs?
So... I have a 1440p monitor,
okay.
and I had to bump my monitor down to 1080p to get to run at 60.
1080p. So you're 1080p 60 though?
Yeah, but it looks like kind of like dog shit on my monitor.
1080
like
looks really bad on my
monitor so it's kind of annoying.
Yeah,
but the FPS was so much better, so I dealt with it. I don't know how much. My PC is not cutting edge by any means. I would say I have a mid-tier PC by now. It's like 5 years old. So I think... I don't know how much of it was the game also, you know? Because I remember you telling me, like, how it was running for you.
Well, yeah, the performance with Cyberpunk was all over the place, and it did improve over time.
Right.
For sure.
So, I don't know. I'm sure it'll get better over time, but like, also my PC's not the greatest.
Yeah.
But man, Cyberpunk is a game I really love.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked my stay, so to speak, in Night City. I thought the game there were so many great moments I just loved. But like Ben's review, there is a lot of, you have to really look for some of these moments when you shouldn't have to. Like just bugs, technical limitations, just interrupting kind of the flow. And you're just like, shit, man, I wish this didn't really happen. Like having to reload quests a couple times, having to do workarounds, you know, because like this quest isn't working right now. They fixed some of it since I've done it, but still too annoying for what I think most people would want to and were willing to put up with. But goddamn, I felt like sometimes when I was playing that game, I was like, dude, this is so good. Especially the narrative, I think, in that game. Like, I know you played some of it, Mike, but man, I really loved that narrative.
Yeah, dude.
I thought it was great. I really loved the story. I thought Night City itself, I think, is super fascinating and interesting world to go around with. I actually liked the combat pretty well. Like, I remember we saw the game a couple times at E3, and we were always kind of like, yeah, like shooting especially. We were like, I think it's pretty good. I mean, it's not Call of Duty or anything like that, but I thought it was better than I expected. I thought it was a lot of fun, but it's hard for me to recommend that game right now for probably a lot of people. Like you, Mike. Like, I think you should wait, especially if you're playing on a console.
Yeah.
That's
I got 8 hours
on, right?
in.
You're playing on a console? Yeah.
Yep. Played 8 hours, and like you said, Brad, loved it, dude. The story was so sick. Wanted to...
You were playing on PS5, right?
PS5, the PS4 version on PS5, yeah.
So we haven't actually had... Everybody else has been playing on PC, I think, so I'm actually curious what that console experience has been like for you.
Yeah. It was rough, you know? It wasn't... You know, there is so much hyperbole right when it came out with like, oh my god, it's broken. And granted, that was mostly about the base versions playing on like a normal PS4. But playing on PS5, like it was bad, but it was still functional. You know, I had maybe 5 or 6 hard crashes.
That's a lot of
that's
pretty
like,
bad.
I never really crashed at all, but I mean, obviously console had it way worse than me and Ben probably did.
Yeah.
But like, that really sucks.
Yeah, hard crashes, just popping, you know. For me, the main thing was like, it just didn't look good enough for me.
Sure.
That's why that made waiting actually really easy, because I was like struggling so hard to immerse myself in Night City. I was like, this is a game, this is a world, this is a setting that demands you inhabit it. You know?
Yeah.
And on
like
PC, you can definitely get there. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the best immersive Sims, you know, Deus Ex, I'm walking around with my revolver. Like I am on the streets. And I was trying so hard to get to that place with Cyberpunk. And I was like, dude, looking at all the reports, looking at all the you know, craziness surrounding it. I was like, I'm just going to wait a while.
Yeah.
Because I love what I played. Exactly. I love what I played so much, even if it was janky.
And it's like, you can wait.
Yeah.
You got plenty of stuff you can play right now.
No rush.
Yeah.
Brad, to your point about the gunplay, I agree. I think out of all of your combat options, guns are definitely the most consistently satisfying to use.
Yeah.
The thing that kind of, especially over time, I think kind of frustrated me about Cyberpunk is I think guns are so good and so effective that like going other directions isn't nearly as interesting. Like I don't think it's as fun, or really the game is built in a way that accommodates stealth in a good way. Or
good to know.
You know, I think the hacking is kind of under, like the stealth is there and it works, but you don't need a stealth build. And I just think you're when I talk about builds and the ways that you can diversify your characters, they're not that different from each other. It feels like even if you go out of your way to kind of be different, I'm a little disappointed. I feel like the Cyberpunk, you know, whether you're talking about your experience, Brad, or Ian's talking about Ian's experience or Blood, like there's kind of they all kind of like congeal a little bit too much.
Sure.
Yeah.
One thing I will say is Kristen was playing at the same time as me, and her build was like completely different than mine. Like I did I really like focused on guns, especially like just having that kind of power, but she went like hacking and crafting mostly. And her combat, I watched her play a little bit, her combat encounters, and man, she would just hack people and like kill everybody. And I mean, shoot a bullet. And I was like, oh, that's like really different than mine. Yeah. Which is cool, but at the same time, there's like, you know, melee and stuff like that. And I don't know how fun that is.
It's
really
not good. Like it's the thing. And so I want to use your point about the differences between your and Kristen's play style. And because I don't think I'm articulating very well what I'm trying to say. It's like melee is a good example. Melee is effective. You can pump points into blades and stuff and be really, really strong, but it's not satisfying. Like you just feel like you're just like clicking away. Like I had these mantis blades, I'd just be slashing away, and it would just be so mindless that like, yes, I was cleaving through dudes, but it also kind of felt like I wasn't really doing anything. And the same thing with hacking, and like there is some stuff that you can do with hacking, and there's some quick hacks that you can get that are powerful, but I felt like a lot of times it would just be like me looking at a guy from a safe distance, hitting the button, and then they die. You know, that was less satisfying than engaging in the gunfights, where it's like, okay, they're getting behind cover, I have to try to shoot their head, or like, you know, there were some challenges in there, like, oh, I have to worry about cover, that sort of thing, that I feel like the other modes of play just don't have enough depth to them.
Sure, totally get that. Yeah, I think I went guns because I saw like the different types of guns, like the smart guns or whatever, you know. I'm like, oh, this seems like they have like quite a different bit of weapon types. I was like, I really want to fool around with these kind of things.
Yeah, and it's fun. Like there is a good variety of guns, and that, like, the way that they're augmented by skills is interesting as well, because, and it's nice that you can equip like 3 different things, right? Like you can have a variety, because you'll run into situations where certain options will be more effective than others, or like using a silencer on a gun and then having something when shit goes bad. Like there's definitely room to play around with the arsenal of guns in particular. I think I was just hoping for, and we talked about this in the last episode, but like, Brad, I don't know if you ran into this, where like you'd run into situations where it'd be like, okay, you need, this stat to open up this path, right? And you'd be like, oh man, like that's an option that's closed off from me. Like, should I build my character that way? That kind of moment of crisis.
Right.
But the problem with Cyberpunk is like, you look 5 feet to your left and it's like, oh, well, I can just go this way instead. And it's like, I feel like they don't really make you sweat all that much when it comes to your decisions.
Where you feel like, man, I wish I had this.
Yeah, because you think about like other RPGs.
Dishonored.
Right? Like even something as simple as like missing out on a dialogue option where you're like, oh, I wonder if I could have like gotten more there or something. And Cyberpunk certainly does have that. I'm not saying that it doesn't. It just is like not there in the way that I was kind of hoping for, or it felt like its perks would support.
Sure, I totally get that. Yeah, I could see that.
But the shooting...
Probably just too big, right? Open world.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot to that world.
Yeah.
Like, the world to me is super impressive about how much there is.
And Brad, I mean, you talking about the world, you're 100% right, because, like, every part of that city just feels so different. And, like, as you're going and you're doing these missions, the places that you get to see, I mean, it feels massive and just so detailed and alive, and
some of those quest lines too, man. Those characters you meet in that game are so fascinating. Like, I'm super excited, Huber, for when you finally like play through it.
Sick.
Because I know you're just gonna love it.
Yeah, dude, I fucking loved what I played. I loved what I played.
And Huber, I know you really enjoy side quests and getting all those characters, and like the side quests are like the best part of this game.
Yeah.
I know people were saying they beat it in like 30-40 hours, and it's like, that's
shorter. Like,
I'm gonna take
it's
100
quest, but there's a lot if you want to do it.
Yeah,
there's a lot.
Yeah,
cool. I did quite a few. Like that's primarily what I did in the 8 hours or so that I played. I did a bunch of side quests and got to a big like story turning point mission.
The thing that was, what I will say is, there's this quest chain that you can do where you go and you do hand-to-hand combat against different people, and I just reached
did that one. You fight like 2 people, right?
Well, there's more. There's like a bunch of fights that you can do.
Yeah, that's the first one.
And I just got to a point where I was like, I don't want to do this anymore because the melee combat is just not fun. Like it's just I'm not having a good time. And so that was something, because you talked about Brad fighting those 2 twins, and like that was kind of a clever and cute moment, and like seeing them and the way that they handled those characters was interesting. But I don't know. I feel like a lot of times the amount that I appreciate the storytelling is offset by like how disappointing the gameplay can be, and that's also colored by the fact that there were so many bugs.
Yeah,
that I think it gave it a worse impression than it actually is.
Yeah, I mean, this game definitely wasn't ready to come out.
No, it wasn't.
But when you talk about like that fight quest with those 2 twins, like one thing I did like about this game is a very like simple, kind of mundane task, I would say, just fist fighting 2 guys was still memorable to me because of the writing. Yeah.
Brad, that's actually something I say in the review where I'm like, or I think I say it in the review. If I didn't say it in the review, I had this thought that a lot of the best moments are just you sitting down and talking to somebody.
The dialogue, and like, I think they did a really good job at making you feel like V. Yeah. I felt like V was me. Like, I had a lot of options and a lot of, like, I think that helps, like, a lot of dialogue choices. We always go back making fun of, the Paragon and Renegade kind of thing.
Right.
And obviously there's kind of moments where it's a little more black and white, but I did feel like I got a lot of chance to really talk and, like, express myself as V and make V my own. Yeah,
I think Cyberpunk does that better than like so many other create a character
Mm-hmm.
games. Excuse me. But yeah, Huber, I'm really curious to get your opinion on it and what you think.
That quest with the 2 brawlers reminded me of Altered Carbon. It's very similar. So a lot of nods, a lot of like Altered Carbon, Strange Days, like
dude, there's a ton of nods in this.
And
game.
but that too was kind of blowing my mind of like, there's a lot of science fiction games, but like storytelling has come so far in such a short amount of time. Like, it's easy to compare things on a basic level. Like, oh, this is like this movie, or oh, this is like this game, and no, it's just like Deus Ex, and it's like, no. The storytelling here seems pretty freaking awesome.
Well, something that I struggle with sometimes with science fiction is like Westworld is a really good example where I get really frustrated with Westworld because it's like it thinks it's so profound and interesting.
Yeah.
But really it's just saying, what if robots are bad? And it's like, think about how many stories you've heard just in your brief time on this earth where it's like, actually, robots could take over. They could be bad. And it's like, if you're going to tell that story, you got to have a new spin on it. Like, just pondering what if robots were bad is not going to cut it anymore, you know? And to tie this back into Cyberpunk, I don't know. I feel like people have been dismissive of it. And I think, you know, you, Brad, talking about the writing, it's what makes it work. Because if you look at kind of like the big picture of Cyberpunk, you could just say, oh, corporations are bad. And that's true. That's what Cyberpunk is about. But what makes it worthwhile is you actually get to see kind of the day-to-day lives of the people in this dystopian life. And it's getting to see things from their eyes and from their point of view that make it worthwhile. Like, if it was just corporations are bad, this would be a lot less interesting.
Yeah, that's definitely part of it. There's like way more to that, you know?
Yeah. And just there's like oh man, did you do the quest with the cop that is like holed up in his apartment? No.
River?
Oh, I did that one actually.
Yeah. Oh, in the apartment?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil it, but how that ends up and just how it deals with like the topic of loneliness and whatever.
Yeah,
really
I'll just say
great.
me and Kristen had 2 very different outcomes.
Okay.
I think my outcome was
I was
good
like,
actually for that one. My outcome was good.
Good.
Yeah. There's like 2 cops outside of the cop's house.
Yeah, there's 2 cops and they're like, hey,
yep.
that one.
Yeah.
It's like Witcher 3, man. I feel like you have so much more room to tell really meaningful stories in the side quests because they're self-contained, whereas, you know, the main storyline like has to have beats and arcs and you know, it's tied to this whole big thing, whereas like you can tell those small hard-hitting ones on the side quests. I love that.
There's so much that I'm at a point where I just kind of want to go into the nitty-gritty of Cyberpunk Quest, but it's too early for that.
Well, that's been crazy as someone who's not been able to play it too, Ben, is just when everyone was dismissing it right away, I feel like the floodgates kind of came off there. Yeah. So I just kept seeing all these articles about like things I had no idea were in the game. It was like, oh, how to do this, right? How many of these there are?
How to romance this person?
Yeah, and it's like, oh, okay, so all this stuff's coming, and it's like, dude, 40% of the people can't even play this game. Settle down.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's a bummer for sure.
But it is what it is.
Man, I almost wish Cyberpunk got like a second chance because
it'll have a second chance.
Yeah.
When the next gen versions come out, I feel like it'll be, but I feel like they have to market it like they did with The Witcher, is like an enhanced edition. Like when this comes out, you can't just be like, yo, Cyberpunk. It's like, no, this needs to be like Cyberpunk fucking Redux enhanced shit or something.
Did they do that with 3?
They did not do Witcher, just 1 and 2.
Well,
they had like Goaty edition maybe for 3.
Okay. While I agree with what you're saying, in a way, like I do think the reputation of this game will increase over time as things get smoothed over, and the noise will settle down a little bit. But I don't think it will ever truly, just because of how hyped it was, you know, like even if it comes back around, I think it will be the ship has sailed in one way or another. And I it's too bad because I think there is something here and I just needed more time to cook.
Yeah,
like
totally.
Maybe another.
It should be early access. It should have been early access.
Yeah,
yeah. And
PC early
access.
access.
It should have been. Yeah.
Bummer.
Yeah,
because
a lot of great in that game.
Like little things for me. I talked to you briefly a while ago about this, Ben. Little things for me were just like some stiff animations and just like really, you know, like I'll go into a corner and I'll watch an NPC and it's just like 15-year-old tech, you know, the NPC just doing like the same like one little motion in the corner, lifeless. And it's like, okay, unfair expectations, you know, I expected this to be some real life simulator, you know, it's not there. But little things too, like, you know, you order a drink at the bar and like it's menu based. The bartender does not go around, pull the drink, give you it, or like you go into your apartment and watch TV and it's like you have to sit down, locked animation, watching the TV. You can't just go in and turn it on. So I'm wondering if an enhanced edition would add stuff like that, little tweaks here and there. You know, maybe that's too ambitious, but I feel like Witcher 1 and 2 enhanced edition like they added dialogues and like new animations and stuff. So I'm wondering
it's possible for sure.
You know, if we'll get a Cyberpunk next, you know, it's like, or if they're just going to worry about ironing out what's there, get the next gen versions out.
I think for now, that's what they're going to focus on.
Yeah.
Make sure the game works for everybody.
The difference in what you're talking about, at least from my perspective, is even if they were to completely overhaul it, not that that wouldn't be worthy of praise, and I could totally eat my words and play it again and be like, oh yeah, this is awesome. But I feel like for the most part, you know, I've experienced the stories that I want to experience in that game. And my favorite part of the game is experiencing those stories. So knowing what's going to happen, it's like, even if it's presented better, you know, it's hearing that story for the first time or this person's story or whatever. And it's just not as exciting the second go around. But to your earlier point about like weird NPC things, like, yeah, this game has a ton of that stuff, but we're in like this awkward spot, I think, with video games, because I think about like Oblivion, right? That was what, 2006, 2007, something like that. And like when I played that game, it was like, this is amazing. Like, I'm in this world. And like, that game is janky as fuck. Like, the game has so much jank, an absurd amount of jank. But just the fact that it was able to do that scope and like, you could just run endlessly and see so many things and some of this stuff, like, that was impressive enough on its own. Whereas like, now we're at a point where not only do we expect that size, but we expect it to be like flawless and as detailed as possible,
polished,
and like I don't know if it can be hard, I think, mentally, and it changes for every person, but finding that line for you, like what is acceptable and not acceptable, or what are you gonna let slide, or what personally affects your immersion, right? Because like, we make fun of Brandon all the time about like the character, because he complained about the character's mouths not moving in Bloodborne, and we're like, oh, that's not a big deal, blah blah blah. But that's just like, that's where we are now, because you do have things. And Cyberpunk is so fascinating, because you'll have moments in that game, and Brad, hopefully you can back me up on this, that it's just like, this looks incredible, or like this is just so so immersive. Like just the detail in this one location is exceptional. And I think because you have those moments when you go and you see like an NPC freaking out, it shatters that much harder.
Yeah. Totally. It's the Nolan effect. I always joke around about the Christopher Nolan effect, because his movies are always so realistic. In a way. So when something unrealistic happens, it's like glaring.
Speaking of an odd immersive experience, I did not play very much of it because I got sick, but I checked out a little bit of Medal of Honor Above and Beyond.
Nice.
So
the reviews were kind of shaky on this.
Yeah.
Damn it.
I thought it was really interesting, and I also don't know if I want to play anymore. Like, I admire it in a way. Like it does some really cool stuff. There's a lot more just dialogue than I was expecting. Like there's a huge emphasis on storytelling and getting to know a cast of characters and getting to know their history. And there's just almost too many moments where you're just standing in place, listening to people talk, and you're this silent character. And it's not that what they're saying is not that good or well written or whatever. I think it is, but I definitely had moments where I was just standing up in VR and being like, this is going on a while. Like I'm kind of so that was strange, but the way that it handles weapons is really fascinating. And you have so much at your disposal, and it's placed all over your body. So you can equip one like gun, like a submachine gun, over your right shoulder, and so when you want that, you pull that over your right shoulder. Or you have like, you can also have like another rifle, like a long range rifle, over your left shoulder. You pull that up. You have grenades on your chest, and so when you want a grenade, you grab a grenade off your chest. You literally pull off the pin, you throw it. You'll have like needles, like health needles. You'll take that off your arm. You'll stab yourself in the chest. And then for all the weapons, right? Because this is World War II. You have to do so many things with them. So it's like, okay, I have to take out the clip, pull out another clip, put it in, cock the thing. And so it's kind of like Half-Life Alyx in that regard when I was talking about that, but even more involved just because of the age of the weapons. And that is really fun. Like, you know, just being in the thick of things, like actually crouching down and getting into cover and trying to shoot people is really cool. What I struggle with is they're definitely going for a certain amount of realism that I don't know that the platform can properly support in the way that they want to. And so what I mean is like, they're like, hey, you should definitely use two hands for a lot of weapons because you'll be more accurate. And that's cool. That concept is a good concept, but I'm holding these two index controllers. I'm not actually holding a rifle, right? I'm holding two disconnected things instead of one connected thing. And so in the game, my character is holding a rifle, but I'm holding these things and like trying to keep both hands steady. And it's like, this feels very different than a rifle would feel. And so I'm trying to aim it like this thing that it isn't. And so there's a little bit of a disconnect there, if that makes sense.
That's weird.
Yeah. And, you know, you're aiming down these sights, right? And these are like, you know, old weapons, old iron sights. And so you're trying to, in VR, you're trying to pay attention to like this little line at the tip of your gun. And so you're like, I don't know, is it there yet? And so you're shooting, and it's hard to be accurate because these are old weapons. And so it like creates this feeling of both being cool and really frustrating, where you're like, you're putting so much effort into this. And you do kind of have those magical moments where you manage to kind of line up a really successful shot. But it's just like so much effort all the time that, you know, after like an hour, you're like, yeah, I'm good. The other thing that's weird is the level design. And so I don't think the levels themselves are that bad. It's a lot of pretty standard stuff, like, or at least so far in the little that I've seen. You know, like you're in this area, clear all the enemies out, or like go on this train, shoot all the guys on the train. There's a tank, blow up the tank. But the levels have been so short so far, where you'll have like they're not like big interconnected levels. You'll have like a scene, and you'll be like, you'll just kill the guys in that little tiny area, and then it's like, okay, loading. And it's like, oh, okay, that's a little weird. And it's like,
it just takes you out of it real fast.
Yeah, it just feels very cut up, I guess. Which is weird. But
how's it feel to kill the Nazis though?
It feels good.
Like shotgun to the chest? How's that?
What's neat is like one of the shotguns you can use, like you know, open it up, you put the shells in, and then you take your hand and you just flip it like that. Feels pretty good. Yeah, the sensation.
Is there blood and gore? Or no,
there's
no
blood. There's blood.
But it's not over the top.
I haven't seen any gore.
No,
from
it's
what I
not
recall.
Soldier of Fortune.
Yeah.
Probably T for teen or something.
When I was watching the trailers for Above and Beyond, I was like, this looks a little rough. But when you're in the game, It's sort of kind of it's not too cartoony, but it just has a little bit of a cartoon style that actually works really well, and I think adds a lot of charm to the characters. The characters are very expressive and a little bit exaggerated in a fun way. But yeah, it's like it's just so much effort to play. Like
you're talking about like actually crouching down all the time, and I'm like, man, in a war game,
that
might be a little much.
Well, and it's just like there'd be moments where it's like, like I was describing, it's like I'm trying to aim down these ancient sites, and like that's taking so much time and effort, and I'm getting shot, right? And it's like I can't. I gotta pull the gun off. I gotta reload. It's just like you're just doing so much that it becomes a little bit overwhelming. And it's not fair comparing this to the best game of 2020, but I think it made me appreciate Half-Life Alyx even more, where Half-Life Alyx felt like it was able to restrain itself a little bit, like where you do enough to feel active and exciting, but not so much. Like there's not so many tasks you have to take care of that you get overwhelmed, right? Like I think Half-Life Alyx walks this fine line between making a fight seem realistic and making it functional in a way that allows you to be immersed. And I felt like with Above and Beyond, I just spent too much time like trying to get my hands to do the right thing.
Yeah, you're fumbling with stuff.
Yeah.
Got it.
But
it's a bummer.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's
I
like
want that series to live on,
Yeah, I do too.
But...
And I definitely had that thought, Huber, when I was playing, is like the world, there should be more Medal of Honor. Yeah.
Totally. I always really liked that series. And, the VR and Respawn seemed like it'd be a good match, good direction. But yeah, just what you're saying and everything I've heard, it seems like a misfire.
Yeah.
Do you think it's something that they could...
I don't even know if I would call it a misfire. And like, I know I'm being very critical of it, but every decision that they make, like, I appreciate it on some level.
Yeah, because it sounds hardcore.
Yeah,
versus...
yes. There is a like, we are going to be faithful to this time period.
Yeah.
With as much as we can with VR.
Which sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like a game that I don't enjoy that much, but is fascinating.
Nice. You respect it.
Yeah, I do. I have a deep respect for it, even.
Sick.
It's also like 165 gigs on my hard drive, which is insane.
Excuse me? 165?
Yeah. I'm going to need that space back.
Nuts.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That is nuts.
Brad.
Yes.
We're going to return to we're not doing one sentence. We're going to go back for BESTAKE.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to give you the BESTAKE this time. And I want... if you're not familiar with BESTAKE, this is a segment of the show where we take a break from game discussions, and Brad has to do an opinion combo. So I'm going to give him a topic, and he tries to give me multiple good opinions on it. New Year's, Brad. Give me your opinion on New Year's.
A comfy holiday. Hold on, I gotta stop for a second because my idea of New Year's is now skewed because of this year.
It's a fair point.
I guess of age from what New Year's used to be to me. New Year's used to be a thing of me going out with my friends, having a good time, having some drinks, just everyone having a party, everyone just hanging out, a good time. As I've gotten older and everyone else has gotten older, it's just like a nice, cozy, I'm gonna chill out, get real settled in, and just ring in the new year in my own way. Yeah. Just spend it with my loved ones. So, I guess New Year's is just the celebration of a new era overall, and a new beginning almost to an extent. To me, it's I understand New Year's resolutions, but I think they're just some fun, goofy thing people can do, but I don't think it's not something I hold close to me where I'm I have to do it because it's New Year's kind of thing. But I think New Year's is just a nice, fun holiday, an excuse to hang out with your family and just chill out.
It's great that it comes so immediately after Christmas because it's like it just feels like the good times keep rolling.
Like Christmas is like the big haymaker of jolliness.
I like that.
And this is just like a little follow-up. Like, oh, here you go.
Yeah.
Just like it's like a little like Huber, you remember when you worked at P.F. Chang's, man? Those little tiny desserts.
Oh,
that you can get,
the dessert shots.
The dessert shot. That's what New Year's Eve. That's what New Year's is like. Christmas is your big meal, dude, and it's just like your little dessert shot right at the end.
Good.
Brad, I like where you're going with this. How do you feel about New Year's resolutions?
Me? Oh, yeah. Like I said, they're just something fun. Like if it's something that people really take seriously and they improve themselves on, I think that's really cool and some sort of motivation to get you to try something else. But to me, it's not something you have to really worry about. Like, I don't think anyone should feel like they have to have a New Year's resolution kind of thing.
Ure. Yeah, if you already touched on that, sorry, I just...
Oh, no.
Spaced out.
I was rambling. Don't worry about it.
If you could celebrate New Year's anywhere in the world, you could just teleport there. Where would you go?
Tokyo.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that and that's the right answer.
Yeah, like, how can you not, bro?
yeah.
Correct.
This BESTAKE is brought to you by some wonderful shout-out tier patrons. At the end, so I'm going to say all the name, guys, and then we're going to shout them out. At the end, I want you to do your best Darth Vader voice.
Okay.
Can you handle that?
Yeah.
All right, shout-out to Elthanas, Greg TheDarkKnight Kettering, Caleb Togi Crawford, Nick, and Stephen Thomason. Shout out. Shout out.
Dude, I just get James Earl Jones to do that. Just say shout out, dude. Hearing Darth Vader say normal, like, different things would be so weird.
How much, dude? James Earl Jones to record you one word shout out. How much is the fee for one word?
Yeah. But do you think he wouldn't do it unless, like, he's like, does Lucas know? Does Lucas approve kind of thing? I don't know.
Once again, my wife and I watched all the original trilogy movies, and just the way that he says dark side, like the way that he, it's like he has like a whammy bar on the dark side. Side, it's so
don't
good.
Know the power. Yeah, it's such a whammy bar, dude. It is.
Yeah, it's great.
Damn,
it's so epic.
I gotta talk about one of my favorite moments of that entire trilogy is when Luke turns himself in on Endor, and he has that convo with Vader.
Yep.
Like in that little walkway.
Great
and
moment.
him just talking about who he was and how he could save it. I'm just like, God damn, that is one of the coolest scenes ever in Star Wars.
Dude, one of the best moments ever is when Vader's like, or when Luke is like, I can save you. And he goes, you already have.
Dude,
You already
emotions.
have. Yeah,
Chills.
It's great. Huber, Brad talked about this a couple of episodes ago. Another game I still haven't checked out, but I'm still curious about is Immortal Fenyx Rising.
Yeah, it's fine.
You beat it, right?
Yeah.
You beat it? Okay.
Swimming, dude. We're swimming in Immortals.
How long did it... So, when you say...
like 20 plus.
When you say it's fine, if that's the first thing that comes out of your mouth in particular, that maybe says it's not worth the time.
No, it's good. This is a good game. This is a good game.
I think it's totally a good game. Yeah, I think it's worth the time.
This is a really good game.
It's very Ubisoft on the front, like the map. When you look at the map, it's very Ubisoft. But I think there's enough to kind of make it stand on its own, or like separate itself from the rest of what you would think from a Ubisoft game.
I agree, dude. Assassin's Creed with puzzles.
Yeah, it's puzzles. The combat's a little different too. Obviously, the tone's different a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you said, I think it was last episode or two ago
that we were on.
Yeah. You said just about the comedic writing. And yes, that stuff never landed for me.
Yeah.
But it also weirdly made playing it less stressful in a way, because I was kind of just writing off the story. You know, I didn't put too much pressure on it. I was like, all right, you know, there's no pressure. I was just like, all right, I'm going to do a main quest. Or like, oh, I'm going to do a tomb. I feel like doing some puzzles. Like, there's a lot to do, and everything kind of just goes by quickly. Obviously, the main quest lines are pretty long and involved, but there's a lot of like small stuff you can get distracted with that just kind of rewards you.
I'd say there's a lot of stuff you can get distracted with.
There's a lot, but then also too, if that stuff ever becomes overwhelming, you can just mainline it. So I appreciated how much stuff was tied to the main storyline. Like again, I really only spent 25, maybe 30 hours it took me to beat the whole thing.
Yeah, it was around 32.
Yeah, and I was getting distracted. You know, I was not just mainlining, like I did a bunch of side stuff. Yeah, it's just a nice, easygoing, comfy game. Like if you're looking to hop in to do some,
super comfy.
It's just comfy. Like
especially
it's one of those
the first like zone you get
love
to
the first zone.
The grass area. Like that's
always love a good
comfy.
first grassy, foresty zone.
Definitely.
I don't really have that much to say about it, so we're not going to talk about it this episode. But there is something about always having a comfy game in the back pocket. Played just a tiny bit of Sackboy. That is how I would describe that game.
Pumped.
Super comfy.
Yep.
I've been waiting for the multiplayer, dude. The online multi.
Dude, it's really fun, man.
I'm excited.
I really like that game.
Looks sweet.
Boy, both of you guys saying that the comedy isn't there. I feel like people need to study Psychonauts.
So comedy's not there, Ben. But let's say here's how I handled it. I kind of like almost ignored it.
Same.
At a point.
Same.
Where I like just washed all over me. Like I didn't even affect me.
Yeah.
Totally. And honestly, it made going through the game easier in a way. I don't know.
Yeah.
It made me less stressed out. I don't know.
Like the story itself isn't enthralling, I would say. I feel like there's a few kind of interesting parts. But the fact that the story kind of, like I said earlier, did wash over me. A lot of the dialogue, I was just like, whoop. Like, don't care. I'm not here for that kind of thing.
Yeah. I'm here for the dopamine. I'm here for the numbers. I'm here for the
I'm here to see this world, which I think is an appealing world when you see it.
Yeah, and they have...
shit, I kind of want to see what's over there.
And they have the best bears of 2020.
They have good bears. There's a lot
best
of bears
bears
in
of
that
2020 in video
Did you
games.
Get a bear mount? I was trying to see if I could mount one.
If there's a bear mount, it eluded me because I too,
bullshit,
Brad. It is kind of bullshit. I was like, yo, so many bears all over here.
Elk. Give me a bear.
Seriously.
Any game that has the quality of, ooh, that looks interesting, let me go over there. I love that.
Yep.
Genshin Impact did a good job of that. Huber, you're like...
Hold on, sorry. Before you
go for it.
Move away from that thought, it does have stuff like structures where I'm like, that structure looks interesting. I kind of want to see it. But what I don't like about it is you could see what everything is actually. Like you can be like, oh, there's a chest here.
I see.
There's this certain thing here.
They removed some of the mystery.
To bring it back to Breath of the Wild, which is inevitable for this game. What I liked about Breath of the Wild is I didn't feel like I knew exactly what was around me at all times.
That's huge.
In this game, I did for a lot of the part. I knew a lot. So there's a few surprises where I was like, ooh, cool.
Yeah.
But if you're expecting that from this game, because it is compared to Zelda a lot, I think you might be disappointed in that aspect.
Yeah, this game gave me exactly what I want. Exactly what I knew it would give me.
Yeah,
and that is solving some puzzles, collecting some loot, climbing some rocks.
Huber, I don't think it would be unfair to say that you are the most puzzle-phobic ally.
Yeah.
So you talking about these puzzles and the joys that you have with them. Maybe not surprising, but just not something that you are generally like, yeah, puzzles.
Full disclosure, anytime I saw a laser, I immediately YouTubed the answer.
No problem. Nothing wrong with that.
No shame.
Yeah, no, that's great.
But great. the other puzzles were really solid, and there was a nice variety and a nice curve. So a lot of these puzzles are like classic Resident Evil style, move this box over here. Or some of my favorite ones were like guide this arrow through all of these. Those ones are so fun. Or like, organize this picture and make it line up. So there was a nice variety. Obviously, and there's some there were like some environmental ones where it's like, get to this point as fast as you can. You got to run and glide. So it's like platforming style. Get over there. So there's just a really nice flow and variety to all these puzzles.
Yeah, one thing I liked about some of the puzzles in this game, Ben, is I felt like I did a puzzle and I was like, I don't know if I was supposed to do it that way.
Yeah, there's so much ways to cheese it.
Not
feels
all
like.
the time.
That's actually something that Breath of the Wild does.
There was a few moments where I was kind of like, oh, that was cool. I felt like I kind of cheated that puzzle almost because I thought outside the box.
Same. I love that. Like, I don't know if I'm supposed to have this box over here, but it just helped me. Yeah.
Like, you get some tools and you could, like, bypass a whole step of a puzzle if you invest in a certain tool to get around that.
The feeling of improvisation is always the best.
Totally. The main criticism is that the first couple hours are exactly the same as the last couple hours, honestly, when you think about it.
That's a huge criticism for me.
Yeah. That combat and puzzles, like, sure, there might be, like, 1 or 2 extra layers to a puzzle because maybe you learned the skill where you can, like... But you even learn that early, like, lifting it up. You know, lifting heavy things. Like, you learn that in the beginning, and it's, like, you're still doing it at the end.
Yeah.
So... To counter that, though, fair enough, is that there is still, throughout each zone, there's still so many types of puzzles that even by the end, even though I was still kind of doing the same things, it always felt like I was kind of bouncing around with the variety. Like, even though combat never changes, you're still just dodging, attack, dodge, attack.
Well, you think about Breath of the Wild, you get all the tools that you, like, all your Sheikah Slate tools you get right at the beginning of the game, the Great Plateau, you know? You get all of them, and you use those through the whole game. But I think what separated Zelda from this game is I think Zelda had more to it. Like, you had more powers, kind of like... It's been a while since I played here, but I remember, like, the main thing is kind of like your magnet thing. You pick stuff up with.
Moving
That's, like, the main thing in this game. You move stuff, kind of.
Pretty much the whole game, yeah.
Well, I think what made Breath of the Wild work is even though you get all your tools right away... the ways in which you could use them was like constantly surprising. Like you could just be so creative with how you combined things or what you did to the enemy that
not a lot of surprises. But I mean, it's Ubisoft, so we're gonna get another one of these things probably. Excited to see it evolve, because to me this was like the first, you know. We compare it to Breath of the Wild and Assassin's Creed, obviously. Yeah. It is exactly like these two franchises, but it's still a new IP. So that's exciting. Like I would love to see a sequel for this.
I think it was a really good first step for this game. I definitely want to get this sense of not expecting another block puzzle a lot, where I'm gonna have to use blocks for something.
A lot of blocks.
Like there's some cool stuff. I guess like you're rolling like a giant ball. Or whatever, you're guiding like a giant ball through something like that. But I will say there was some unexpected moments of like a block, and I used a big, like you get like a big hammer weapon, like a skill almost you can use, and I was able to move this block with that, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know I could do that kind of thing. But
I like that.
I still think it needs a little more variety, I guess.
Yeah, and maybe a little more identity with the loot. Because like each time you get loot, it has each new piece of loot has like a perk. But each piece of loot has like 4 visual decorations. So sometimes you're picking up the same loot, but it just looks a little different.
A different color.
It's just a different color. So really early on, I kind of just had the stats that I wanted throughout the whole game. So pretty early, I was like, all right, I'm good with loot. Like, I don't even really need any. Now I just want to, like, level up my stuff. So in the next one, I'd like it, too, if there was just more kind of unique loot that you earned that was, you know, valuable.
This conversation kind of reminds me of when we started seeing the first sort of Souls-like games that were clearly influenced by Souls and maybe, like, didn't quite get it right. But it's like, oh, there's something here. Like, this is an interesting twist on this. That's kind of what Fenyx Rising sounds like for Breath of the Wild, where it's like, they're taking from this, but like it's got some value and they'll make it even better.
Like, I had a real good time going through this game.
Same.
Did you have a real good time going through Yakuza Like a Dragon? Yes. Man, over like the past week and a half, I have like played the shit out of this video game.
It's a long game.
It's a long game. Maybe a little too long.
Shit, dude.
That we always say. We say this often with Yakuza. Maybe a little couple hours short of it nice.
That's why I like 6. I feel like
But I
6 is
think
kinda
that
short.
comes from, Ben, that aspect of it being a little too long is of me reaching a part in the game where like, fighting these guys and I get to boss and he's like 15 levels higher than me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh shit, man. I feel kind of underpowered here.
Mm-hmm.
But, man, this game has all of the things we loved about Yakuza. Like, a lot of us, especially as a story.
Yeah.
Like, we love the story of these games. These characters are just as great, man. Just as memorable. I love this new cast that I played around with.
Yeah, and I think special praise to Ichiban, you know, as a main character.
Like, Yakuza's obviously had multiple protagonists, but, like, still insane shoes to fill.
Yeah.
Especially when he is, like, the main character. You're not switching characters throughout the story necessarily.
Right.
I mean, I think they just did such a great job. Like, how are you going to put a character next to, like, Majima, Kazuma, Saejima?
And the thing is it's like, you think about the things that they're trying to play with in Yakuza 7, and it's like, this guy is still in this world, this Yakuza world, right? And we've seen so many different characters, but somehow this protagonist of this game feels a little bit different and has his own vitality to him. And it, you know, it just does it, despite there being so many of these games, this guy doesn't feel like a rehash, and that's great. Right,
yeah. And obviously the biggest difference is just the turn-based combat.
Yeah.
Which was, like, super refreshing. Don't get me wrong, I really like the old Yakuza style gameplay. You know, beat 'em ups, but, like, play a lot of Yakuza games, and just having it be, like, a turn-based now, and, like, a really, in a modern world, is so weird and interesting that I really dug it.
Yeah.
I think the combat system is fun, but it's really simple.
Yeah.
And I think that's okay. Obviously, like, we've played a lot of RPGs, and I could go for a little more. I was always expecting, like, a limit break system or something to pop up, but, like, nothing ever came like that. You know, some moves you push a button prompt, which is fine. And the job systems, obviously, I love job systems, and I think it's handled in a really funny way of you literally go on a place to get a new job called Hello Work.
Yes.
But I feel like there's definitely moments where I was like, God damn, another fight?
Yeah.
Of me
That's
just
what Ben
walking
said.
through
Yeah,
a
I remember.
street. I beat up some dudes, you know? Then some more just kind of spawn right in front of me. I'm just like, okay, let's fight these guys. I'm just trying to go down, like, a street. Then I get another fight right after, and it's just like, man, this feels like a lot.
I remember in the original, it was like either Yakuza 1 or 2 original, maybe 3, one of those. They didn't tell you where to go. It's like, yo, you got to do this main mission. No direction, and it's fight after fight after fight, and it's like, anytime I'm lost and I'm getting in random battles, like one after another, dude, I get so freaked out. I'm just like, where am I going, dude?
Well, the problem here is that the way you take down these guys just doesn't really change. Like, there aren't a ton of, like, mechanics or switch ups really at all in any sense that you have to do for a lot of these fights. That's not to say it doesn't happen at all, but I just mean, like, a lot of times it'd be like, am I fighting a group? Okay, I'll use my group attacks. Am I fighting a single guy? Like, it was pretty straightforward. Now, some of the moves are a joy to watch. Like, they're just so ridiculously over the top that they kind of have that charm going to them. But I think when it comes down to, like, the nuts and bolts, you're just doing the same thing over and over again. And you're doing, let's, you know, what you were saying about old Yakuza. But I think old Yakuza, because it was more active.
Yeah, sure.
It felt a little bit different. I do like, they do a lot of good stuff in this turn-based system. And I think I'm excited for them to give it another crack, and I'm curious to see what they're going to add to it. Because there is a lot of joy in, like you were saying, the job system and just switching up jobs and just seeing what they can do, and, like, getting new abilities as you level up is pretty cool.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll go Resident Evil style now, where we have multiple types of Yakuza games. You know, whether, you know, and it's weird too because they dropped the 7 here, but not in Japan. So it's like, okay, I could see maybe subtitled, non-numbered entries adopting turn-based, and then if we get Yakuza 8 or whatever it is, you know, go back to beat 'em up. It's So I wonder if
this kind of
they'll start
feels
experimenting.
like, I guess, a place you could hop into if you're a newcomer. Obviously, there's huge there's big payoffs if you've played the other games and you're a fan. But you could hop into this game and be like, I'm having a great time, and I have a general idea of what's happening.
It is largely its own thing.
Yeah.
Judge eyes.
Judge eyes.
Yeah. Man, I could definitely go for another Judge.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Boy,
Judge eyes.
The future is bright for Yakuza, man.
But
Dude,
one of my favorite
attention,
aspects of this game that I did not expect was of course, Yakuza is famous for mini games, of course. There's like this really fun one called Dragon Kart, which is just Mario Kart.
Yes, Brad.
Which I had a lot of fun.
Yes.
But there's this business management mini game.
Yeah.
Where your whole goal, you take over this like failing business, and your whole goal is to get this to number 1, baby.
Yes.
And it's all about managing employees, buying property, upgrading property, keeping your employees happy. You know, over time they get more like unhappy with their work. So you pay them to go on vacation to like re-energize them. Then you have a boardroom meeting with investors, and you got to please the investors. And it's just this journey about raising your business, and it's seeing it go up, and you're pleasing everybody. And I spent so much time doing this game, dude.
Yep.
So much time, like over 10, like probably 10 hours, dude. And I just loved it.
It's really fun and absorbing, and it doesn't, the way that you describe it doesn't really, I don't feel like you can put into words how much fun it is, because there's an entire storyline that you get into and characters that you get involved with. But then there's just the way that it handles certain things. Like, you'll get options to be like, hey, do you want to pay for like doing this? Do you want to do this commercial? And then there's like a full cinematic of your commercial, and it's hilarious. And you're like, this is just so much fun to watch. Or they'll be like, hey, do you want to spend millions investing in this thing? It may not pay off, and you do it, and they're like, yeah, it didn't work out. We just lost that money. And just the like emotional highs and lows and how well it's conveyed. And those shareholder meetings, you're like, it's like Danganronpa style, where you're like attacking them with words. It's great.
God, it reminds me of like the obviously they did, you know, the real estate in Zero, and the baseball, and Majima's construction, and just like it reminds me of kind of the best of mobile games without any of the any of the dirtiness, because it's so effing addicting, and like you're just raising numbers, and it just things are popping.
I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm having so much fun.
Huber, I had this exact thought with Yakuza, where I was like, we've seen so many things fall to like greed or just general like consumer shittiness, and Yakuza is just like, it's just not doing that. It just refuses to succumb. It's like gaming purified. You know, it's like it's great.
Good. It feels good.
But yeah,
like
man, I love this game. Like, I mean, it's got problems for sure, but like as a Yakuza fan, I just had such a blast going through it. And I think the story's great. Like, one of my favorite endings in a long time that just hit me hard.
Yeah.
I was just like, God damn, this game. I love it. I definitely want to see them take another crack at it. I think there's some things they can do better. But I think this is a great place to hop into the series if you're curious about it. Like, obviously, Yakuza comes with a lot of, not baggage, but there's a lot to it.
A lot of
history. And it can feel intimidating. Like, I certainly felt intimidated when I started the series. That was a long time ago when there was less games.
Yeah.
But I think you can hop into this one. It feels way different, too.
Oh, yeah.
Having an RPG in, like, a modern setting is pretty rare, I would say. Like, you're just in Japan, like, modern-day Japan, in an RPG. It's, like, a weird, kooky setting with weird jobs, like, hobo is a job, or, like, a chef.
Yeah.
It's just weird, man, but it's so fun. Recommend it.
Brett, I actually think it's kind of like The Mandalorian in the sense that, you know, if you are invested, there's definitely stuff you can take away, but if you're not, you can still also appreciate it. It feels like a game that everybody can enjoy, and I definitely think people are intimidated.
I think that's probably why they renamed it in the West.
Yeah, yeah, and if don't overthink it, because Yakuza is something that you can just slip into get immersed into, enjoy stories, and have a good time. Like
crack it open.
Crack it open. Yeah.
Because we've all jumped into different places, haven't we?
Yeah. My first one was 3.
Yeah.
So
I started with.
You started with
PS2.
1, and I started with 0. So yeah.
Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill. Yeah.
So weird. It's so weird. I can't even believe it.
Hey, kitty. Yeah. This is like Joker.
So weird, dude. And then I lost my copy of 2 original, dude. I have my box,
shit.
but my disc is gone. Someone stole it.
It's like your Okami mystery, dude. What happened to your Okami disc?
Okami and Yakuza 2 on PS2. Discs are just gone.
You don't know what happened?
Don't know what happened.
It was weird because I went over to Brandon's house one time and he was just like juggling this Okami and Yakuza 2 disc. And I was like, whoa, Brandon, that's weird.
Dude,
so I would ask him.
Same thing.
Is it gone?
It's just gone. I don't know where it is, dude. It's just gone, dude. Where is it?
That's so funny, dude. Damn it.
Fucking ice, man.
It's too good.
Last night I finished Star Wars Squadrons. I guess I should say the campaign for Star Wars Squadrons. Yeah.
Sick.
Did you play in VR?
I have not played in VR yet.
Oh,
no.
Okay.
Which I know you've been a big. Well, now that I set up my VR for Medal of Honor, now I have no excuse.
Yeah, you should take a spin, dude.
Yeah, it's a pain in the butt to set up VR, but VR or not, I really liked this game way more than I was expecting to. I think it has helped that I've been in a Star Wars kick for sure. I've been kind of like, I've been obsessively consuming Star Wars for like 2 or 3 weeks now. So that helped a lot, but I just think this is a great game. And as somebody who grew up enjoying like Rogue Squadron, it kind of feels like it's back in a way, but even better. Like, I was talking about Medal of Honor and how like overwhelming it can be. This game actually has so much going on mechanically, but I don't think they overdo it. Like,
no,
you get so many different types of ships, but there's enough similarities between them and how they control that you can kind of slip into them without being overwhelmed and still feeling like, you understand what's going on. And it's just tuned to ride this perfect line between being this like fun fantasy Star Wars thing and you actually feeling like you're piloting something. It's not too far in either direction.
Yeah, I said this in my review. It strikes a very nice balance of being able to hop in arcadey style, but complexity. Yeah, like almost a sim. Because like, with your ship, you can manage your lasers and your shields, and if you can do that drift turn, you can hop into this game at a real good time. Yeah. But if you're a good pilot, you will stand out above other players.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It feels like easy to jump into, but the skill ceiling is very, very, very high. And just the more you play it, seeing yourself get better and just like manage your power between your shields and your engines and your lasers and, being aware of where all your cooldowns are. It's like, okay, I can ask for a resupply now. I'm getting attacked from behind. Let me put my shields to the back. Like, and it's just awesome. Like, it's just really, really, really fun. And I think the missions of the campaign are just varied enough. Like all the objectives that you're doing are what you would expect. Like you're protecting something or destroying all enemy fighters or whatever, along those lines. But I think the types of things that you're fighting, what you have to worry about, and just the general depth of the mechanics make it all super, super fun. I also think, we talk a lot about length. I also don't think this campaign overstays its welcome.
Yeah, it does not.
And because you alternate between the New Republic and the Empire. And I think alternating between them helps so much.
It does.
Just kind of keeping things fresh and exciting. My biggest complaint, Brad, and I don't know if you agree with this, and I'm sure it would be improved with VR because it'd just be a little bit more visually interesting, is I really actually like the characters, and I think the story is pretty good, pretty decent. And I had fun getting to know them, but like the way that you get to know them is the same throughout the entire game, where it's like, you go to a mission, you come back to the hangar, and then they'll be like, hey, come talk to me. They'll have a speech bubble over their heads, and you'll go, and they'll say interesting things, but it's just so static. You're just like locked into the screen.
Yeah.
And they're just like monologuing at you.
It is a very static thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, I don't know how they're going to really do this differently.
Yeah, no, I
Especially,
get that.
With like a long, maybe like, there's cutscenes, but like, it's very much like, to me, Ben, this is a game that was designed to be VR.
Yeah.
When they started making this game, like, we're going to make this a VR game.
Yeah.
But they're like, oh, well, let's make it so you don't have to play in VR. And I think it definitely helps in VR. And I agree with you. The characters I think are interesting enough where I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. Like, I don't remember all their names, but I remember like the guy in the Empire who wears the helmet the whole time.
Yes. He's great.
Yeah, I'm like, this guy's the best.
Yes.
Like, his whole backstory and everything like that.
Yeah, I think it's like Shen, something.
Yeah, but
something
I
like
definitely, it's like Shen, something like that. I think there's definitely room for improving presentation, how things are handled.
Right.
Like, I like when you're around your command center and you're getting like a mission briefing, because I'm like, oh yeah, this is exactly what it would probably be like.
Yeah.
But I wish there was more than you just talking in a hangar or maybe like in your command room.
Yeah, I don't even think you saying the focus on VR I think is true, but I think even then, like, it could stand to be less rigid. Like, even just because you can't even like walk around the hangar.
Yeah, it's
like
stiff.
You can only go to these very specific points, and I think if you just had a little bit more room to breathe or walk around, or it felt like when you were having these conversations the world was just responding to you a little bit more, I think all of that would help.
It definitely feels like low budget in that aspect.
Yeah, and to be fair, it's not a full price game. It's a $40 game, and you definitely kind of get that sense that like this is not on the same league as something like a Fallen Order, but boy, I am really impressed with it. Like, I pretty much every time I booted it up, I was just so excited to play it because of how well they executed on this core concept and how focused it was. And I've only focused on the campaign for the most part. I played one multiplayer dogfight so far, but I enjoyed that so much where I'm like, I might kind of want to keep playing this. Like, that was really, really fun. And like the things that you can unlock, it's just cosmetic stuff but it was, a lot of it was like pretty cute and like smart additions. It's like, I don't know. This is like the little game that could, I feel like.
Yeah, they added DLC too. Like recently, they added like 2 new ships. They added like the B-Wing and stuff.
Yeah, I did read about that. The B-Wing, and what was the other one? Was it the TIE?
Some weird TIE
Defender?
fighter. Yeah, some weird TIE fighter.
But yeah, I
think they added a new map or something like. And because I reviewed this game, and they weren't saying like they had no plans to do any DLC or anything like that. They're like, we're just gonna release the game and hopefully it does well.
Yeah, and
it seemed like it did well enough. Where they're like, oh shit, well let's put a little more in this.
I hope so. Like, I know flight games are not for everybody. I definitely think this game's appeal is certainly narrow than something like a Battlefront or a Fallen Order, and that's totally fine. But like, if you have any curiosity about it, I would give it a try. It is very, very, very well made. Yeah, and super fun.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, this game in VR.
Yeah.
It's like the real deal. Like, one of my favorite moments this year was being in a fucking TIE fighter, Ben, and blowing up an X-Wing in VR. I was like, hell yeah, this is my shit right now, dude. I love this. And hearing your teammates be like, rebel scum. Yeah, I'm like, oh my god, yes.
And that's something, because they definitely try to make the Empire very relatable and like, here's where they're coming from, and they do a good job of that. But there's just enough like sliminess and pretentiousness from the Empire that it's like, this also feels right. Also, Brad, you were mentioning like being in a TIE fighter and shooting down an X-Wing. I enjoyed both sides equally with the ships, and I was really interesting.
Yeah, they're all fun
bouncing between them, because like you're in a TIE fighter and it's like so nimble and fast, but it doesn't have any shields, and that's a lot different than being in an X-Wing and like trying to manage your shields and switching them around. And so just bouncing back and forth.
Each side I think it helps because it has like a semi-comparable shit to each other. The the Empire has the TIE Interceptor,
Yeah.
and the New Republic has the A-Wing.
Yeah.
They're both like the really fast, nimble kind of ships like that.
Or those times where you're using a ship that has ion cannons and it's like you're not killing the guys.
Yeah, you're just
but
like
you're disabling the ships,
Yeah.
and so your teammates they'll be like, I got it, and they'll come in and they'll blow up.
I really like
disabled.
one thing I was disappointed is just like I really think there should have been like something on a planet, you know, that brings like a whole different element to air combat.
Yeah.
I think that's something they could definitely do in the next game, and I'm hoping they do if they do make a sequel.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's definitely areas where there's like a lot of debris and stuff around.
Mm-hmm.
But I always felt like it was pretty easy to navigate through the environment. So
It's not. Once you like get the hang of things, you're zooming through there.
Yeah. I will say, Brad, because you played this on PS4, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've only played it on a PC with mouse and keyboard, and we were talking about this earlier. This definitely felt like a mouse and keyboard game to me, where like there's enough things that you need to do that I'm like, boy, I'm really glad I have a keyboard. Was it ever a struggle or a learning curve with you on controller? Okay.
For like learning to drift well took me like, like a couple levels.
Sure.
Then I was feeling real comfortable with it.
Yeah.
But that's great that it works well on mouse and keyboard. They were heavily inspired by like, those old Star Wars games like TIE Fighter, X-Wing vs. TIE Fighter, stuff like that. So that's great to hear it works well.
Yeah, it does. I'm so used to it that it's hard to imagine.
I'm telling you, man, when you're playing VR, that game's night and day. Like just VR, being able to like sit in your cockpit and freely look around at everything happening around you. Like when you're flying up and you're trying to keep track of a ship. It's the best.
Yeah, no, I got to try
Can't shake him.
And I was thinking about that as I was playing. I was like, I know I got to play it in VR. I know Brad talks about it a lot. It's just like, I didn't want to set up my VR, but now it's out.
Totally
Today, right there. There's my index.
Yeah, just give it a spin for a few levels. Just feel it out.
One other thing that I want to say is a positive, not a super revolutionary thing, but I really like, so every mission has medals that you get at the end. And so you'll get like a medal for not dying, or for doing all the optional objectives in a mission, or for beating it under a certain time. And I was like, oh, I like that. Like that actually kind of makes me want to revisit some of these things and do that. Mm-hmm. Just that nice little replay
Some small replay value.
Yeah, it was good.
Love
that. Yeah, flying in Star Wars Squadrons, just like we're about to fly right into this HOTTAKE.
Oh, shit.
I thought with this crew, it's the New Year's episode. We're not taking things too seriously.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
This is the right group to do it with. We're gonna put on our prediction hats. What do you think? It can be realistic, can be goofy, can be whatever you want it to be. What do you think will happen in gaming in 2021? Now, that's a big question. So I wrote down some games and things to maybe get the ball rolling. Hopefully have like Ghostwire Tokyo coming, Elden Ring, Breath of the Wild 2, Horizon Forbidden West, maybe a Switch Pro, maybe.
God, I hope.
Halo Infinite, Diablo 4, Gotham Knights, God of War Ragnarok.
Yeah, dude.
Hopefully Hollow Knight Silksong, Monster Hunter Rise. You got that Microsoft Bethesda deal. We'll be interested to see how that plays out. And, just throwing on a wild rumor on here, a Blue Point Metal Gear Solid remake.
Oh, yeah, dude.
So we got a lot of things that we could poke on.
Juicy. We didn't even talk about Final Fantasy 16 or anything like that.
No, I did. There's a lot of stuff I did not include. I just wanted to get the ball rolling. So take it in whatever direction.
You got the ball rolling.
God of War Ragnarok will be IGN's Game of the Year.
It'll be IGN's Game of the Year. So why didn't you say Easy Allies?
I didn't want Bloodworth to sweat.
You didn't want to put that pressure on him?
Yeah. Bloodworth gets uncomfortable when you start predicting our own goatees and review scores. So he gets a little nervous. That one was for Blood. It's the beginning of January. I don't want to stress him out too much yet.
Blood apparently really loved Half-Life Alyx, though, which is encouraging. I like that.
Yeah, I'm picking that up tomorrow.
Yeah. Will it be anybody else's Game of the Year? I mean, will God of War be a Game of the Year
success?
Yeah, because God of War 2018 was definitely that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But now those
Let's
expectations.
See. Yeah, God of War 2018 had the advantage of being like new compared to the old ones. Will it be? I think it's gonna be. They're gonna knock it out of the park with this game.
I agree.
Do you think they run into the danger though? Like, because with God of War 2018, they completely reinvented God of War from the top down.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, like how they
that's a big advantage.
Yeah, I mean, like they combat, like character portrayal, tone, like everything was different. Everything was different, right? So is it when you run into the sequel, do you run into the problem of like, well, you didn't reinvent the wheel again, so it's not quite as impressive?
That's why I feel like obviously there's way more to it, but that's kind of what happened to Last of Us, I feel like.
Oh, you think so?
Like if you play them side by side, like they play really similarly.
Yeah.
They're very similar games. So I definitely think if God of War does almost exactly what they did in 2018, I think people will take it for granted.
Well, here's the thing.
Last of Us Part 2, Game Awards Game of the Year.
Yeah.
2020.
Here's the thing. When I'm thinking of God of War Ragnarok, I'm thinking of Uncharted 1 to 2. Maybe not necessarily as drastic as a leap, but a big step up of them.
That PS5, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Refinement, craft, like just really nailing everything now. Like, no, like in the front. I think at the first one you got like a few kind of weird areas, kind of few like weird spots. Maybe throwing your axe a little too many bells or something weird like that.
Sure, too many ravens.
Too many bells. Yeah.
Maybe like really diving into some of these other realms or something like that. Like you got you got a little of that in this game. But like really diving into that, like tweaking some combat things to make maybe if Atreus is still fighting with you, maybe even more involved some way.
Yes. Yeah, because some of the realms you go to, they feel like video game stages.
Yes.
And we always talk about that.
Yep.
Where it feels like, this area feels like crafted for this game. Versus like, I'm actually going to this faraway place.
Yeah.
You talked about Last of Us Part 2, Huber, and people taking it for granted. And Brad, you made me realize like there's so many ambitious things that they could do with Ragnarok. But when I think of Last of Us Part 2, I really truly don't think of it as more of the same. And I think it's because they really went for it in terms of how they told the story. They didn't tell it the same way that they told Last of Us Part 1.
Right.
And I think that really made the game feel super, super, super different. And so just you think about like the relationship that you have, father and son in 2018, like even if you just change that dynamic and how that feels, it'll feel like a way different game.
Is that going to bum people out though? People want that Kratos Atreus bond, we didn't really get Joel and Ellie in Last of Us Part 2.
No matter, yeah, but
I don't know if Kratos is going to necessarily have the same fate as some other characters.
It's not about the thing, it's about the execution. That's
right.
Yeah.
That's what I think about with The Last of Us 2 here. Like, I really like that game, but I do have problems with somehow some things were handled. But like, I don't have a problem with the idea of what they were trying to convey. It's just how it was done for me.
Totally. That's like me with Game of Thrones.
Sure, yeah.
Same exact. I like the idea, but the execution was...
Sure, yeah.
Could have been a little better there.
Anytime somebody mentions Game of Thrones Season 8...
Yeah, Ben gets bummed out, dude.
I'm sorry.
I'm
sorry.
Very few pieces of media have caused me that much rage.
If they just had like 2 extra episodes in there...
No. They would have just made 2 more shitty episodes. They have no idea what they were doing. The thing on some of this stuff that I wrote down, like one I really stuck on for a while, was Halo Infinite. And I was like, I have no idea. I don't feel comfortable or confident saying whether that's going to be good or bad in any way. Because I feel so
I don't either.
Down the middle on it. I can see 2021 happening, Halo Infinite coming out, and both situations being equally true.
Yeah. I feel better about it because they delayed it for so long.
Yeah,
at least.
I agree.
Huge delay.
That does make me feel better about it because I think if it came out in November, like they were planning, it would have been
kind of a Cyberpunk
bad.
situation.
It could have been a Cyberpunk situation, yeah.
A little bit of an apples and oranges situation here, Brad, but like I think about how much Cyberpunk was delayed and still the
Yes,
mess
it's
that went
possible.
under.
Anything's
Yeah.
possible. Yeah, I suppose.
Get used to me saying that for the next like 5 years, everyone. Oh man,
What?
it's kind of a cyberpunk situation.
Yeah.
Well, I think that is going to be a thing that people say.
When I think of studios that could have that same situation, I think of maybe Bethesda again or whatever. You know, when I think of Starfield or Elder Scrolls 6, whenever the hell that comes out,
yeah.
could have the same vibe. I mean, certainly did with. I mean, the wait wasn't as long with 76, but it was, you know, a disaster.
A game that jumps out to me, and I'm like, "There's no way this is bad," is Silksong.
No way.
There's a 0% chance.
There's a 0%
that it scores any lower than 90 on Metacritic.
Yeah, there's 0% chance that game will be bad.
And
like, I don't like taking stances like this. I think it's like,
no, if you were an investor,
I don't want to make blood sweat, dude. I'm talking about review scores.
Sweat up. Like, I think what this team is capable with, what they did with Hollow Knight, and they're taking their sweet time.
The thing is, though, is like...
And you've played it. You played it, like...
That's the other thing.
2 years ago.
Yeah. It was really good.
Yeah. And that was a while ago.
Release it. No rush.
I think, out of a lot of the games that I've pulled out here, I think Horizon Forbidden West is not being talked about quite as much. Not saying that people aren't excited or that it isn't anticipated. Obviously, Horizon did very, very well. But I think when I think of Horizon... I think that is definitely a game that I can immediately see benefiting from the next generation.
Oh,
Ben, I think some of the reason was the cross-gen kind of de-hyped.
It did.
The conversation.
I think it did.
Because for a game that is supposed to be
I
forgot it was
cross-gen.
Yeah.
I forgot it was cross-gen.
Yeah.
I take back everything I said.
Out of all the PS5 games you look at, you want that one to be the showpiece. And when they get also on PS4, it's like, whoa.
Well,
when you think of like an open world game.
Yeah. The fact that it can even run on PS4 is weird.
Well, I think about Miles Morales and how, like, when I'm playing that, I don't get this sense of like, oh, this is compromised, you know? It's still visually fantastic.
But I think the difference with that for me is that Miles Morales still felt like a PS4 game up-resed. Like, yeah, it's PS5, sure, 60 frames, HDR, whatever. But the foundation of it, it still felt like, they're making this PS4 game even better because it's running on PS5. Whereas Zero Dawn or Forbidden West, to me, should be like, bare minimum PS5. But it feels like they're...
I think, not in every way, I do think some of the characters could certainly look better in Horizon, but I still think Zero Dawn is a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous game. Mm-hmm. And, like, we're at a tricky point where I'm sure this will absolutely not be true in, like, 3 years or 2 years or whatever. But where we are now, I think a lot of this stuff is, like, PS4 game but better, you know? Like, I don't even think that is an insult, really.
Yeah.
Because I think of some of the stuff that they were able to accomplish on PS4 and how good it looks. Like, I'm playing Days Gone on my PS5 right now. And they just, that's 60 frames and just souped up a little bit. And it looks great. I'm not wanting. I'm not at a point with game graphics where I'm left wanting with how things look. I do
Last of Us will sustain me for the next 5 years on visuals.
Think of Ghost of Tsushima as well. That game is unbelievably gorgeous. Yeah. And that's PS4. What I do want to be better, though, and this is what I was talking about with Horizon, AI's got to get better. It's got to get better.
Yeah.
And I know it's not
world AI.
But like
open world AI is dumb as dirt.
The way
they do their predetermined attack pattern, nothing more, nothing less.
Yes.
That's it.
They
can't handle it anymore. Yeah, Ben. You preach it.
It's just when you create this world that looks so gorgeous and you just want to run around in, when you realize it's like, oh, I can just deal with every person the exact same way
with one button,
it cripples it. And it's like we just need to have like more variety in behavior. Just you just want those moments where you're like, fuck, I didn't expect that. I don't know.
That's kind of like, what do you think about this like unexpected thing? I think of like the Nemesis system and how that was kind of like, we all thought that would be the next kind of like AI.
Right.
kind of thing, and it just seemed to fallen off. No one gives a shit about that anymore. But I definitely do feel like I agree with you guys, where I feel like some scenarios, and especially open world games, feel old.
Yeah.
Like how you're handling this feels old. The enemies you're battling against feel old. They look new, but they feel old.
Right. Yeah, I think that is a very good way of putting it.
That's why I love Evil Within 2 so much. They do my favorite thing. They do open world parts, but then they give you those crafted, linear, more focused parts. So I love that balance of like, all right, here's a big open world, but now we're going to funnel you down this roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
Give you this more crafted, tailored area.
Yeah, but not every game has the advantage of being
totally.
Evil Within, where you can literally, it feels like you can literally do anything.
Yeah.
But even like Breath of the Wild, right? Like the shrines and stuff versus the big open world. It's like I always like when there's a nice balance.
Separation.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Gotham Knights a little bit.
Nice.
Because this is an announcement I think it just feels like a lot of people have forgotten about.
I certainly did, till you brought it up again. I was like, oh yeah.
Gotham Knights. Now this is Montreal's, right?
It's Montreal
here. Yeah, the fact that there are so many similarities to the Arkhamverse, but it is not part of the Arkhamverse, really soured me.
Yeah.
Really soured me initially. Obviously, that'll change. My hype will rise again, obviously, when I play it. And once the hype cycle comes again. But then the Suicide Squad game is part of the Arkhamverse. So like that's all moving on. And now we're starting this own thing.
It's a weird situation.
It's super weird. And I always understand. I always sympathize. I always get the argument of we want to tell the best story that we can possibly tell. And that means not being beholden to all this other lore. I get that. But it's still not as exciting.
Right.
And it's made weirder by the fact that there are so many similarities. It's like, yo, Bruce Wayne is dead. What, is this after Arkham Knight? No, it's not, but it's like kind of similar.
So I think what makes it really weird is that it's called Arkham Knights.
No, it's Gotham Knights.
Oh, sorry. Okay, never mind then.
Yeah,
I thought it was Arkham. Arkham Knight was the other game. That's right.
Yep.
But I agree with you on this part.
Huber, I think that is a super fair point. I have nothing to say against that. What I will say is I feel like Arkham Origins was a game that was kind of dismissed out of the group of Arkham games.
Great game.
And I didn't play it until 2020, I think is the first time I played through it. And I'm not going to sit here and say it's the best game ever made or it's the best Arkham game or anything like that. But I thought it was a really solid entry that I think a lot of people unfairly wrote off just because it was more of the same. But I think it was executed really, really well, and it did some things. It just told its story and presented its world effectively, and I really appreciated that. And
man, that was my biggest complaint with that game was the story.
Arkham Origins?
Oh, I like that.
I don't want to spoil it, but I was like, again? I was like, why?
Sure.
I guess I just liked some of the smaller moments in Arkham Origins.
Sure.
Yeah.
Particularly with like Alfred, I really liked. And the DLC Cold Color Heart was very good.
And
I think this the big twist really annoyed me.
Same. But I agree with Ben.
It's
a dope story. It's a dope game.
Yeah, I think it's a really good game.
Did it annoy you more than the twist in Arkham Knight?
I don't know. At least it was not the same.
I don't want to talk about the Knight story, dude.
Yeah, like the Arkham Knight was like he himself was lame, but
maybe that's why they went the standalone route. They were like, "Yo, we don't have to deal with all this Arkham Knight stuff."
Yeah, that's what they want to have freedom to do whatever they want.
Yeah. It's just God. Even the cast of characters in Gotham Knights though is like, why is this just not freaking after Arkham Knight? It's bothering me. It's just bothering me. Is that it? But that feels so personal. I'd love to take a poll. I'd love to take
people care.
If people really care.
Now,
granted, if you've never played the Arkham games, you don't give a shit.
Yeah.
But if you've played them all, like, do you not care?
So here's my weird headcanon about it is there's so many different types of Batman already.
Yeah.
Different lines of Batman or whatever, going different universes. So I guess that kind of lessens the blow for me.
Yeah.
But as someone who's invested as you are with like that story, I guess, then I'd be kind of disappointed.
just because the other one is canon, but this one's not, doesn't it feel less special?
It is weird.
Right out of the gate?
Well, I think
yes, it does.
I think everything that you're saying, I think we're just at a point in time where that's all we know. Like, we've seen almost nothing of Suicide Squad. We don't know the full context for Gotham Knights. So maybe we'll get to the end and it'll feel way worse, or it'll be like, oh, okay, I see why they went this way.
Totally.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, I'm so glad it wasn't part of the universe because they did this cool thing or something. Yeah, totally. Because, like, you know, no spoilers, but, like, a lot, if you are after Arkham Knight, like, you have less that you can tell, less that you can deal with. Yeah. So, all right. I think
it's kind of exciting focusing on the other members of the Bat family, which they do in the Arkham games, but it feels like a lot of that stuff is relegated to DLC, but I always thought that stuff was really strong. And I don't know, maybe there's more of a story to tell there. I will say the most concerning thing is like, that gameplay trailer they showed was just okay. Nothing about it looked all that special or interesting.
Yeah, really, this game 100% for me hinges entirely on co-op implementation. You know? If I can have these real-time moments where I'm busting in, throwing something as a distraction, and then one of you swoops in, and the guards get distracted over here, and then I swoop in. Like, I want those stories. I want those moments. I just really hope we don't get, all right, enemy base. Let's clear these guys.
Yep.
All right, loot box over here.
Yep.
Okay, next enemy base. Like, I want each, because that's what the Arkham games are too. They're so tactical. I really want those tactical co-op moments where you really have to work together to take down enemies.
You really can't feel like you can just hop in there, just bust in through the front door, beat the shit out of everyone.
See,
yeah, I want tactics and
I think it's
and teamwork.
It's going to be a hard game to play through with another person on the first playthrough, just because, like, I really want to pay attention to the story.
That too, exactly.
And then, like, okay, is the co-op going to be interesting enough that, like, I'll want to go through it again with somebody else?
Tricky game. Yeah, co-op story games, that's a whole nother wrinkle.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about a ton. We left so much on the floor, but I think there could be an entire podcast episode talking about 2021. And so before we move on, I guess I just want to say, give me like one off the wall, shoot for the moon prediction
of 2021.
I guess it's not like super off the wall, but I want to see Fumito Ueda's new game, whatever he's doing.
Sure.
It's been quiet for a long time, and he's not with Sony right now. It's going to be a different publisher. So I'm super curious to see what he's going to come up with.
So, maybe 25 years, right? Yes. Okay. This is the 25th anniversary of Resident Evil this year. So a fixed camera Resident Evil game will be announced in 2021.
Will it be like
brand new?
It'll be a brand new entry.
Brand new fixed camera Resident Evil, whether that's a spin-off or mainline, you know, whatever. But there will be a brand new fixed camera Resident Evil game announced.
I like it.
Give me a name. What's it going to be called?
Resident Evil Rigor Mortis.
Rigor Mortis.
Oh my goodness. If Rigor Mortis is the subtitle of anything.
Because the camera is locked.
Can you just imagine like a kid coming to school being like, yo, you played Rigor Mortis? Like, what a mouthful that is.
Directed by Suda51.
Yep, Suda.
Yeah, that does seem like maybe a Suda move. I want there to be not only a new Silent Hill, I want it desperately from the bottom of my soul.
Never give up the fight.
No.
I want Kojima to be working on it as a huge drop the mic moment.
Yeah.
Probably not going to happen.
Could happen, Ben. Seriously, could happen.
It could happen, dude.
Could frickin' happen.
It would make me so happy. It would make me so happy.
This is your Final Fantasy VII remake, man. It could happen.
Will Guillermo
if that game happened,
also,
it could happen.
Like that would you still be hyped, Ben, if it moved forward with Kojima but not Guillermo del Toro?
I mean, would I still be hyped? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do I want Guillermo to work on it? Yes. Like both are true,
yes.
you know.
Yeah.
I have a lot of faith in Guillermo's eye. You know, he's just that dude just drips style. But, you know, like Kojima's also made brilliant games without Guillermo, so I would still be hyped.
Totally.
Still be hyped.
E3, dude. Kojima. Give it.
Give the gift.
Dude, you know Kojima, or you know Keighley wants to be the one to release a new Silent Hills
Dude,
demo. Demo number 2.
Let's
go.
I want Keighley, because, you know, Keighley's like, you know, pretty reserved, professional. I want him to have a moment where he just like loses it, okay? Yeah. And he's like, so we have a big world exclusive, and he just like rips off his shirt, and then it goes world premiere. He becomes an animal.
Comes back, he's just like,
yeah. He's like eating like a heart. He's like, yeah.
I want them to like debut this game and him not to know about it.
Keighley?
And just be caught off guard, yeah.
That would be amazing.
I want raw Keighley reactions.
Kojima
no inside scoops.
I want the final hours of Silent Hills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Brad, I love that. Keighley's like, yo, Hideo's here. We don't know what he has.
No, not even that.
What do you got for us?
I don't even want to know Hideo.
Yeah, dude, Hideo gets that
he
text.
He thinks it's some fucking indie
They
game.
hijack the feeds.
Kojima gets a text, and it's just Keighley's like, why don't you tell me?
Why don't you tell me? And Kojima just sends him back the sunglass emoji.
Yes.
I'm like, that's it.
All right.
Too good.
Are we ready for some emails?
Yes.
Let's do it. I'm ready for Silent Hills now.
Yeah.
So ready.
You and me both. I hope the medium's good.
Yeah. When was
Oh, yeah. That's like this month, right?
January, baby.
We're in it.
The last...
You're in one.
I don't mean to be depressed, but Downpour was in 2012.
Was that the last Silent Hill?
No,
Downpour?
there was another one after
Book
that.
of Memories.
Yep.
What the fuck? I never even heard of that.
2012 as well, dude.
Wow, it's been that long? Dude.
Wait, was Downpour before or after Book of Memories?
A few months before.
Okay.
Yep. Book of Memories, 2012. That's it. And then PT. That is wild. We're due. The world is due.
Yeah, we are due.
We are
the bill
overdue.
comes due, Konami.
This is final notice.
Get up the IP.
You put the final notice stamp, Konami. All right, our first email comes in from Matthias. Hey, Ben and panel. The Game Awards are over and left me questioning, is this voting system heavily flawed? For example, in the category of narration, 13 Sentinels was, in my opinion, the clear winner. The game would not work without a strong narrative by the very definition of its genre as a visual novel. I found the strategy part of the game very forgettable in terms of gameplay, but it was a mere tool to strengthen the bonds between characters. The Last of Us Part 2 won this category. I have my gripes with that game, but I'm totally fine giving credit where credit is due. I thought the narrative was kind of weak in the game due to its stretched nature and the way it forces emotions and moral decisions onto the player. But since the jury for the Game Awards consists of a bunch of critics, how much chance does a game like 13 Sentinels, with a 76 review on OpenCritic, stand against a AAA game like Last of Us 2 with 177 reviews? If a better game gets skipped and critics have no experience with it because AAA always takes priority, how can quality factor into this outcome? I had the same issues with the categories strategy / sim, and RPG, where the more defining candidate for the genre was dismissed in regards to titles that were just played by more people. That at least is what my impressions were watching the show. Maybe your angle can convince me of something different.
No, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
You're 100% right. That's why you got to focus on who is giving the award. So if you want, you got to find people you trust, people you follow, people you love, people you know to say what their, best narrative. But I think as long as it's a big industry-wide award show like this,
right?
The bigger budget games, like everyone is playing Last of Us. It's too big not to play. Whereas obviously
Yeah,
no criticism towards 13 Sentinels, but like a lot, everyone's trying to do work and they're busy and playing all these games. It's like that game is definitely going to take second priority to something like Last of Us.
Yeah, I mean,
which is unfortunate.
But it's
just kind of the way it is.
I feel like, while I totally understand where this email is coming from, that's just how capitalism works, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, everybody, it's all tied to money somehow, right? Because there's the reason why there's so many more reviews of Last of Us Part 2 is because it's a bigger game with more attention. So it makes sense for these companies who their job is to get eyeballs on their thing so they can in turn make money to feed themselves. It's like everybody has to make priorities, and those priorities are going to move to whatever they think is the most beneficial thing. That's just the way of the world. And so I think definitely award systems are flawed for sure.
Yes.
I do think the fact that it is nominated was an encouraging sign.
Mm-hmm. Very.
I don't think 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 13 Sentinels would have been nominated at a thing like
this.
The
Game Awards on Spike, to me, no offense, Mr. Keeley, they used to be a joke in my mind.
Yeah.
Nowadays, as I just said, obviously huge industry wide, some of these results are going to be a little skewed, but I still think for the most part, it's a really good barometer kind of metric. Like, I do take them seriously,
Yeah.
Barring a couple categories, like they were saying, like best narrative, because some of these sleeper hits just aren't played by as many people. But for the most part, I really think like they've gotten it right. And again, versus, the Spike Awards, I think they're a lot more credible now than they used to be.
I think once in a while, though, a smaller game will come along that gets a ton of attention and praise. I think of Disco Elysium.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people are just praising the shit out of that game, and it's like a much smaller game.
Totally.
I also think timing has an effect on this. When a game releases, is when people will... Honestly, like, I hadn't even played 13 Sentinels at the time because I haven't been able to get to it.
Same.
So I didn't vote for it in that category. Like, I haven't even finished the game. I'm still playing. It could be, like... There are so many people on this panel, and not everyone can play everything.
Yeah.
But like you were saying, there is definitely some games, more popular games, that people had time to play just because of the scope of how big they are, and also when they are released.
That's why I hope everyone that's watching... I know it's frustrating because it feels like GOTYs are done now. Like, all right, next year, old news. But like, we really tried Easy Allies to have all of us play everything that is even remotely important, so we can...
That's why we wait.
Dish it out. Exactly. That's why it's so late. And I know that like bums a lot of people out, but we take it really seriously. And I love having these conversations with you guys just to bring attention to the smaller games and just to hopefully get it right.
I do think there is a contradiction there that I'm really glad you bring up, where like everybody wants this like thorough examination, but they also want it yesterday. And it's like, I think you have to be more understanding. Like, if you want it faster, it's not going to be as thorough, and people are not going to play as much stuff. If you want it to be more thorough, you're going to have to be a little bit more, like, you have to, you have to decide what you want and then accommodate to make that happen.
Yeah. We all we do, guys, is play video games. You realize that?
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not even close to being caught up for the 2020 games. And it is my entire life is playing. I'm always playing a game nonstop.
It's not like a movie, where we could watch an hour and a half, 2 hour movie and be caught up on it. We're playing fucking 30-hour games.
30-hour games back to back to back.
Yeah.
Not forever.
Like, we as a group at Easy Hazard, we are trying our best to cover everything and get in depth with everything as we can.
On a more optimistic note, though, I will say, like, progress is just frustratingly slow. It just is. Like, things just don't move very fast in so many different categories. But, like, not that long ago, indie games were never considered for Game of the Year. They were always, like, weirdly kind of relegated and talked about in this very separate way. And now Hades is, like, one of the most nominated games. So... that's just a small and maybe not great example of what I'm talking about, but I do think recognition and appreciation for things changes over time. It's just sometimes it can feel really slow, like Yakuza, which we talk about over and over and over again. That was almost no one knew what that was not that long ago, and look at it now. You know, and so
household
name. Things do change.
Yeah, I would actually like if Keighley incorporated more, user votes. I guess from the people, kind of like how they have like the Gamer's Choice or whatever.
Yeah, what won that for Game of the Year?
Ghost of Tsushima.
Ghost of Tsushima, that's right. Oh, I remember that. Okay, yeah.
I would love for them to do more awards like that where the players feel like they have more of a voice.
Honestly, just for every category, they should be like, okay, here's the critics,
right?
What they voted, and here's what the audience voted.
I got no problem with that.
That would be fun.
Just when you
I could see that freaking Brandon Jones out. That seems like that would mess up the flow of the show.
It's a very unorthodox thing, I think.
But I love the idea. I love it. Because then when that matches up, it feels like it gives it even more credibility.
Yeah.
It's like, the people's goatee, the users, the critics vote goatee. Yeah. It's the same, dude. This is the one true goatee.
The one true goatee.
Yeah. I like it, Ben.
Our next email comes in from Brandon. Hello, everyone. While there's always new games to play throughout the year, my tastes are particular enough where replaying older games is far more common than expected because there are only about 10 or so new releases in a given year I'm interested in. But because I replay a good amount, I've noticed some games are really hard to go back to because of how much an improvement their sequels are. For example, I like the Borderlands series a good bit, but the thought of returning to the first one without knowing how much better all the entries are is a discouraging one. So, Allies, are there games you enjoy or at least know of where it would be a detriment to one's time to revisit because everything in the series after its start is so much more improved? Thank you for taking this email if you do, and have a very happy new year. And stay easy, fellow Allies.
Resident Evil Remake has fully replaced
the original.
Fully. No disrespect.
Sure.
Love the original.
That's such a great answer.
I love that game, but it's made easy by the fact that Mikami just remade his own game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's not like disrespectful. It's like his
camera.
Yeah, it's his game.
And stuff like that. Like RE2 remake to compare to the original was like super different.
Totally different games.
Yeah. That's an interesting question.
Like, I still really, really, really enjoy it. And it wasn't... I was playing it not that long ago, but like Devil May Cry 1 is a really good game, but that combat is so much more primitive than what came after, especially with 3 and 4 and 5, that when you're playing it 1, there's definitely things that you miss in your arsenal, for sure.
Kind of a weird example, but I think of the Final Fantasy series. When I look back at Final Fantasy 1, I think it's very primitive. Like, I still like it.
Yeah.
But I think the later games are just so much better.
I think that's
compared to the original
true all around, but then you have the added thing of Final Fantasy where it's like, well, which version of one are you talking about? And it's like, the NES version is particularly hard to go back to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just say even, like, all the versions of 1.
Sure.
I think some Final Fantasies are just better.
Sure, yeah.
Those games.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just do what it does better.
MLB The Show.
Sports games?
I feel
Yeah,
like
maybe sports games are, like, a great example.
Yeah, I think
racing games.
Yeah, I think of just multiplayer, like online, ongoing games. Because if it's a series I love, even if entries get better, I still like revisiting the story. Like GTA is freaking out of control now, dude.
Yeah.
But like, it's still fun to go back to Vice City and experience Tommy's story and just the setting and all that. Like, on paper 5 is so much better, but like there's still something to be said about going back to...
There's nothing like that Vice City vibe.
City.
Vibe can counter so much.
Dude, GTA 6, take us to Vice City, please.
No,
Doesn't have to be
somewhere new.
Somewhere new,
Fuck.
But you just go on a little vacation to Vice City.
Okay,
Shit goes down.
That's fine.
It's just one little
take
small
me
piece.
New GTA. Game sequel that I think just you never need to go back to the original Street Fighter. The original Street Fighter, you never need to play that game.
No.
Yeah, you don't ever need to play Street Fighter 1.
Yeah, but what's interesting though is you're right, but I still think there's a ton of value in playing Street Fighter 2 even with all of the other ones after it.
Yes, 2, yeah, but I think you can skip one forever.
You could skip one forever. It's like fun to dip into as a curiosity, and that's it.
That's it.
There's like
just curiosity
no value beyond that. Yeah.
Weird example. I think Killzone 2 is just infinitely better than 1.
Oh, hell yeah.
Killzone 2 is an old game still, but I think about Killzone 1 compared to 2, I think was just a much better game. Much better game.
But that's kind of the Uncharted situation where it's like, well, if I'm going to replay this whole franchise...
Well,
but at least Uncharted 1 kind of has like a narrative of like Nate and Sully, at least their conversations are interesting enough. Like Killzone 1, like the story, like I guess, I don't know.
Some lore there, but not a good story.
Kind of, but it's like, I don't know. Is it really that great to watch it unfold?
Do you remember the freaking E3 video of Killzone 1?
You mean 2 or 1?
Was it 2?
2
was like
the
what was like the insane crisis?
That was 2?
Okay.
One.
Okay. What a moment.
This question is really hard for me because even if some things are better, there's something sometimes about older versions that I really, really like. Like, I still think if you haven't played Zelda 1, you should play Zelda 1. Or, like, I just played, not that long ago, I played through the original Tomb Raider, and it's like, yes, there are a lot of things that are obviously improved or that, like, the 2013 reboot does better, but the way that this does platforming is just so interesting and different that it was still a ton of fun. I don't know. That's hard.
Yeah, this is a tough one. They brought up Borderlands. I think that's a good example for sure.
Actually, there's something about Borderlands 1 that I still really, really like. Just the attitude and there's a simplicity because as things go on, they get more stuff added on. And so sometimes when you go back to the original, it's just lean and it's like simple. That can be very refreshing.
Simple and clean.
Simple and clean. Kingdom Hearts is a good example of what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's some value in it, but I think about Mega Man 1 and how it's just
Brad,
way worse.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Like, there is some joy to be had in Mega Man 1, but it is just strictly worse than...
It goes away real fast, though. Like, I don't want... Like, I played 1 when that collection came out for a little bit, and I was like, man, fuck Mega Man 1.
No,
I'm not playing this.
Mega Man 1 is actually the perfect... It's like Street Fighter, right? You keep nailing this, because Street Fighter, they just hadn't figured out what that game was. Mega Man 1, they had not figured out the formula yet. It wasn't until Mega Man 2. Yeah, it's what it was. Yeah, Mega Man 1 and Street Fighter 1 are basically prototypes. Yeah. Those are great examples, Brad.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. Yeah.
Our next email comes in from Beaks, which is just fun to say.
Beaks.
Beakman, dude. What game was that? Quiet Man.
Text Kyle Beakman. That's it.
Text it to him at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Okay, I will. Don't tempt
time.
me. I will.
Yeah.
Hey there, Ben and Allies. We've seen it many times from gaming companies. They have incredible success, and then in order to continue increasing profits for investors, they make a series of baffling anti-consumer moves that end up hurting the company long term. Some of the biggest examples being PS3 era Sony, early Xbox One era Microsoft, end of Wii era Nintendo. Xbox has been very consumer friendly lately, and Sony has been better than I would have thought going into PS5, but Nintendo has been making some baffling decisions lately, releasing multiple games for a limited time, canceling one of the biggest Melee tournaments of the year over Slippy, canceling a Splatoon 2 tournament over player names referring to that canceled Melee tournament, shutting down a charity event over modded Joy-Cons, and now shutting down an Ultimate-only Smash event. These are all things that Nintendo could partner with to help boost rather than eliminating them entirely. We've seen other companies do this. Other fighting game companies have turned a blind eye to online mods and even embraced some, and Sonic Mania's origins are a good example as well. With all this said, has Nintendo officially entered its next era of overly cocky Nintendo? Thank you for all your hard work.
I don't know. This just seems like Nintendo has always been like that with their IPs. Super controlling, protective of their IPs.
Yep.
Like, I agree they should just like let people play fighting game like Melee. Like I don't see the problem. I'm not Nintendo, so I don't know. Like everyone who owns Melee probably owns the newest Smash or whatever. I'm assuming. Like I don't think they're gonna lose sales because of Melee or something like that. But I don't know. Like Nintendo, we love Nintendo, but I also feel like they make a lot of dumb decisions a lot of times. Like I don't understand why they're doing this.
Nintendo reminds me of Disney and Star Wars.
Sure, yeah.
It's just too big to fail. They're running their own race and they're winning that race. And until the entire public has a huge backlash, until their numbers start going down, until they release a system or a Zelda or a Mario that fails, like they're just going to keep doing what they're doing.
Wii U was a failure.
They don't need to listen.
Yeah, they really don't. And like
right now, yeah.
The Wii, you know, I feel like the Wii U is a great point there, Brad. Like the Wii U, you know, didn't do that well, but I still think like everybody kind of gets that one free pass, you know?
Well, there's been multiple points.
But like it feels like they rebounded quickly from that. I don't know, like anytime Nintendo's in trouble, they just like do something else that's awesome.
Well, I think rather than their successes and failures, it's like when has Nintendo ever not been making stupid, like this isn't best for the consumer decisions? Like I feel like every year there's some crazy like why is Nintendo doing that? Whether it's like how they crack down on YouTubers or now more recently this like Melee, like there's always something about Nintendo where it's like out of all the ways that you could have done that, that's the direction you went to go. But I feel like that has just been Nintendo forever. Like I don't like, yes, maybe it hurts now more that they're being so successful and dominant in a lot of ways, but whether they're high or low, I feel like Nintendo is out there making dumb decisions. They make a lot of great decisions as well. Obviously, clearly they wouldn't be in the position that they're in if they didn't, but like, it doesn't even faze me at this point.
It doesn't even faze me, and it doesn't faze them. Like, look at how fast things change. Look at Star Wars right after Episode 9 came out. People were ready to write it off. Obviously, it's Star Wars. It's too big to write off. But everyone was just like, dude, done. Crap. Now Mandalorian Season 2 hits, and it's Star Wars Mania all over again. Let's go.
Because
and it's like
no one's ever out.
No one's ever out.
No one's ever really gone.
No one's ever really gone from Nintendo.
Fucking out of the prequels, dude.
Yeah. Now you're back. Same with Nintendo,
I've been
baby.
back, then out, then back.
Nintendo's too big to fail.
When you walk through that door, you don't even realize you're just in a bigger room. Like it's
It's like, oh fuck,
like
Lucas again.
Think about all of the rage, and it's like the next big thing. You'll be right there.
Yeah. Nintendo, dude. As long as like Pokemon. Everyone complains.
Everyone complains
every damn time, and they release the same game every time, and it sells the most every time. No reason to change. Business as usual. Keep moving.
Hate buying. It works.
Yeah. You'll complain, but you'll buy it.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to take a lot. I think Nintendo is going to have to. It's going to have to be a sustained thing where it's an ongoing conversation.
It's like what you were saying when we would play Predator. As they're like, the Predator's no threat, not a threat. There needs to be a tangible threat. They need to sweat a little bit, and they're just not sweating.
They're not sweating at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of decisions come from Nintendo Japan too, especially.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know what it's gonna take for them to change some things. Like, fuck, man, I'm still waiting on achievements. What's happening?
No achievements. Never coming.
That's going to do it for Frame Trap. This was a fun episode. Thank you so much to Huber, Brad, as always. Coziest episodes. Thank you, everybody, so much for watching. If you want to send an email to Frametrap, that is askeasyallies@gmail.com. One more time, that is askeasyallies@gmail.com. Also going to be in the description of wherever you're consuming this thing. And yeah, until next time.